Hey, welcome to the channel. My name's Mike, and I'm gonna make a bold statement here and say that this video is probably going to make more millionaires than any video I've ever made. In this video, I'll show you every step you need to make a beautiful, professional e-commerce site that sells print-on-demand dropshipped products in the easiest and the most effective way possible. So what I'm gonna show you in this video is something that a lot of people charge hundreds or even thousands of dollars for, but we're doing this for free, obviously, on a YouTube video. Now, the method we're going to use in this video allows you to get started for almost no money at all with basically the lowest overhead possible, and allows you to scale indefinitely without hitting the growing pains that most e-commerce stores face. So this could be a side hustle that maybe you spend 1 or 2 hours a week on, or it could be a full-time replacement for your everyday job if you really want to go all in on this. Either way, we've seen many people make $70,000 or $80,000 per month in profit. That's not revenue, that's actual profit, using the tools we're going to show you throughout this video. So this is a full 3-hour video, a 3-hour tutorial that, like I said, a lot of people would charge $800 or $2,000 for, but this one is completely free. Here at Santrel Media, we believe in free information. That's how we got started out with a lot of our early success, was from seeing free information from other people, and now we want to give back with this full tutorial, the free Shopify print-on-demand course here on YouTube. So there's a lot to talk about. We have a lot to cover in this video. I'm not going to waste any more time with the intro, but we're going to dive into how to make a design, how to find a hands-off supplier, how to make an incredible website, a Facebook business page, email marketing strategies, how to set up other marketing styles in general, and of course, how to get samples like these right here, including like a hat and another hat and some shirts. And we'll talk about how to get samples for all this stuff, because obviously that is a really important part of an online store, is seeing what your product really looks like. And because we don't have inventory, anyway, we're gonna get more into that later on in the video. So let's go over to my laptop, and I wanna start off by explaining what print on demand really is. Okay, so let's start off with what is print on demand. Well, print on demand has 5 main steps. The first is to create your store and your design and your products and figure out what it is you're going to be selling. Number 2 is actually the marketing, whether that's organic, inorganic, direct marketing, influencer marketing. We'll talk about all that throughout this video. Step 3 is the customers actually go and place the orders. And this is what's really interesting, because the customers, you might notice, are placing the orders before you're placing your orders, which is really in line with any style of dropshipping. It's the dropshipping business model. But print on demand, as the name suggests, means that they're going to print whenever the demand is there. So customers will place the order before you place the order, and then after that, number 5 is another really significant step, and that is where the supplier essentially handles everything else for you. So there's some main benefits here. As you might see right from the beginning, the first thing is that there's very, very low risk here. You don't have to buy inventory. You're not going to get stuck with a warehouse full of inventory that nobody wants, which means that it allows you to test new designs or just really do whatever you want without worrying about too much risk. Additionally, you don't need any equipment because you're not managing any inventory, you're not dealing with boxes and shipping, and most importantly, you're not printing on these t-shirts. You really don't need any kind of overhead at all, other than maybe the cost of a domain and your website for a month. There's really a very, very low cost. You can put it on a credit card for less than even $100, easily getting started here. The second main benefit, of course, with that is that it is really, really easy to start, easy to manage, and it can be as lazy as you want it to be when you're actually managing the business. So if you're trying to just set up a side hustle, maybe you are an influencer or you have a brand and you just want to have some kind of merch, but you don't want to dedicate full-time dealing with this whole business. Print on demand is perfect for that. Or maybe you have a full-time job and you're looking to start up just an after hours, just in your evenings, you want to run a store, an online store, and sell some kind of merchandise, build it up to eventually go full-time. This, again, is a really easy way to go on the side. Or maybe you want to have multiple stores and you can manage each of them with relatively low effort. On top of that, you can customize just about anything from, of course, t-shirts and mugs were some of the first ones in the print-on-demand industry, but now you can customize almost anything out there that you can imagine printing on. You're able to get through these suppliers. And lastly, you never have to deal with tape and boxes, like I said, so you don't have to worry about the hassle of shipping or the whole logistics side. That's all taken care of by a good supplier. And of course, as I said, the last one is that it is really quick to start. So by the end of this video, you'll have a store up and running. You don't have to worry about hiring anybody. You don't have to worry about buying any equipment. It's really, really simple. So let's go in that in a little bit more detail. Starting off step number one, and we're going to go through all of this throughout this video. I'll show you exactly what you need to know, how to do this, and I'll actually do it in this video as well so you can see where to click, what to do, and how to actually have it properly set up so you can start making sales and have beautiful products and a beautiful website by the end of this tutorial. So starting off with step number one, that is to create a store. And so creating your design, we're going to talk about how you can do that. There's a lot of great free tools out there. And if you want to do free tool, that's also really easy. We'll talk about how to do that. The next tier would be maybe a paid tool that's a little bit more difficult, but still you're doing it yourself, or you can outsource entirely and just pay somebody else to make your designs for you. The creating the design is called white labeling. So this is essentially where you make the design, you put it on somebody else's, a manufacturer's product, and instead of the manufacturer's label on the product, it's your label on the product. So we're going to be using Shopify in this video, which is one of the easiest and most powerful and obviously most popular ways to make an online store. You need absolutely no coding. You don't have to know anything about websites at all. It's all drag and drop. It's very, very easy. Clicking, just following through. You can do this like a monkey can make this website. There are very easy integrations with hundreds of partners, so you're not limited to just using Shopify. It connects with Facebook and Instagram and Mailchimp and a lot of other apps out there that make it incredibly powerful. It's very responsive, meaning it works both on a mobile and a desktop, so you don't have to worry about making multiple websites, and it comes with a 14-day free trial and lots of fantastic themes that are both free or paid. So we're going to actually get started with santrelmedia.com/Shopify POD. POD means print on demand, but we'll get to that in just a second after we're done explaining the rest of what we're going to do in this video. The second step is to market your product. So as I said, you have some other options here. You can do direct marketing, you can do organic marketing. We could be marketing through Google ads, Facebook ads, Facebook organic, Instagram organic, and of course influencers as well. And we're going to talk about how to actually set those up throughout this video. All of those are really powerful ways of marketing your product. And the idea here is that print on demand, as I said, is great for a pretty wide variety of sellers. Whether you already have a market, whether you're an influencer or an Instagram, like whatever you might be, some kind of brand, or if you're a band, an artist, or anything like that, it would be a great way to kind of monetize your audience. You don't have to worry as much about the marketing because you already have that audience. Or the other side is anybody looking to start up a business on the side or full time. This is a great way to essentially just focus on the marketing, and you can actually do the paid marketing and still get a lot of traffic through Instagram or through influencers, which I think is one of the most underrated ways of doing this, among many others as well. Going on to step three, this is when the customers order the product. As I said, they're ordering the product before you are. So essentially it is kind of like a pre-order, but you want to make sure you're finding a good supplier so they're still getting it in a pretty reasonable amount of time. Within 4 or 5 or 6 days is what you really want that turnaround time to be. Now, this makes it very, very scalable because you don't have to pre-order anything. The customer is giving you the money before you're actually ordering the product, which means you don't have to take out business loans. You don't have to worry about inventory. It really makes it much more scalable, and the only costs you really have are going to be the marketing, the website, the domain, and the basics like that. Then we have step 4, which is when you order using your preferred supplier. We're going to be using Printful in this video. They're one of the easiest ones to work with. They're one of the most popular as well, and for good reason. They give you really fast shipping times, very, very impressive, because for a long time, drop shipping, one of the main problems was that these are coming from other countries around the world. They're shipping and they take so long to get there, and nobody's going to be happy if they order your product and it shows up 3 weeks later when Amazon shows up later the same day. So print on demand, of course, it is a little bit more customized here. It's going to come in about 4 or 5, maybe 6 days. And I think most people are going to be happy with that amount of shipping. It generally is pretty reasonable, and I've never seen anyone get too upset about that. We choose a supplier with low or no fees. Printful obviously is completely free. It's always free to use. There are no fees at all. There's no like freemium or subscription models. Like it's free to use Printful, and that's why we like it, especially when you're getting started out. And if you want to use Printful, we'll talk about how to actually set that up going to santrelmedia.com/Printful. We talked to Printful. We got you guys a discount link. So if you're actually using the code Santrel5, you get $5 off when you're using Printful. Then after that, step 5 is when the supplier, or Printful in this case, is going to handle the rest. They're going to be doing all the shipping for you, all of the logistics, and really that only leaves you with the marketing, the designing, and maybe the customer service on the back end if you're doing any kind of returns or refunds or something like that. So kind of to summarize what we're talking about in this video, we're gonna go step by step through making the website, making the design, setting up Printful, setting up the products, and actually getting good pictures of the products before you even have them. But additionally, once you have them, actually getting some samples in your hands and experiencing the product, because that's something I think a lot of people overlook. A lot of times people just set up the site, they set up print on demand, and they start selling without ever getting samples. And samples are so important because without actually having the physical product, you don't know what your customers are actually getting. It's very easy to have some type of gap between your design and the actual product, and so seeing how it actually prints, making sure you don't print on a seam or print something weird or have it slightly crooked, like you don't want anything to not look good. So having samples, I think, is really important. We're gonna talk about how to get your samples. Additionally, we'll talk about how to manage the Shopify store, how to manage your orders, how to partner with Printful, as I said before, as well as after that, the next most important step would be the marketing. And I already mentioned that earlier, and we'll get through that later on in the video. But of course, there are both pros and cons with using this style of business. Now, in general, the pros can outweigh the cons for many people out there. Of course, this video is not financial advice. I'm not telling you what to do with your money, but definitely something to consider. So the pros, like I said, it's very low risk. It's very easy to get started, meaning you don't have to lose or risk a lot of money. It's very cheap and easy to start. There is really no overhead, like I said. The shipping and fulfillment is not your responsibility, making it a very relatively passive business once you have it going, and is quick and easy to launch, meaning that at the end of this video, you can have a full store up and running, ready to go, ready to start earning you money, and you're just gonna spend whatever time and money you're doing within this hour, which is really not much. Then the cons, of course, you do have some limited customization, meaning that you're kind of limited to whatever products they have, whatever packaging your supplier is using, and without being a large enough dealer with them or a seller with them, it's gonna be hard to get them to really customize your package, or at least do so with a reasonable price. You also have somewhat narrower margins because you are working through someone else who's doing a lot of the shipping and stuff like that. And of course, you are a little bit less in control, but all of those are compromises that I think are really fair compromises, especially when you're starting out, that give you very little risk, and you can test the waters, figure out what designs work, what marketing works, and eventually, maybe in a year or 2 years, somewhere down the road, once you have a booming, essentially booming product and brand, you can then start doing a little bit more stuff in-house. You can start getting some inventory once you have stable numbers and you really have a good idea of what kind of inventory you'd want to buy. So that's why this makes it for a great on-ramp to a long-term business that can last you even decades down the road. So step number one is actually to set up a free account with Printful. Then we're gonna set up an account with Shopify, but it's just easier if you set up the Printful account now. So if you go to santrelmedia.com/Printful, so let's do that right now. So santrelmedia.com/Printful. Then just Printful. You can also click on the link in the description as well, or copy and paste it to a new tab. And that's gonna take you to this page here. And the reason I recommend doing this now, setting up your free account here, is because later on, this will actually be an app in Shopify. So it's really easy to use, but I think it's just so much easier if you set up the account ahead of time. And then within the Shopify app, you really only have to worry about setting up the product. So we're gonna go click on sign up, and I'm going to sign up with my email. And so then it's gonna ask you what you wanna do with Printful. I'm just gonna say, start my first online business. And then it's going to say, we're gonna say finish here. And our account is now set up. And like I said, Printful is completely free to use, which is one of the reasons we like it. Before we go any further, I just wanna kind of show you guys some of the fundamentals here. First, you're gonna have to verify your email. Then we'll go through actually creating the product. We're gonna do all of that later on in the video once we have it set up through Shopify. If you do it through here, it can get a little confusing later. So let's just start off by verifying your email. I'm gonna go over and do that. All right, so now our Printful account is fully set up. As you can see, we're gonna come back to this a little bit later, but let's open a new tab right now and copy the link in the description for Shopify, or you can type in santrelmedia.com/ShopifyPod. You wanna make sure you're going through this link so you're getting the full free trial, and on top of that, you can see exactly, like you can actually follow along because it's gonna take you to a slightly different website right here where we are going to get started with our Shopify site. So make sure you're using the link in the description, either click it, copy and paste it, or type in santrelmedia.com/ShopifyPod. And that's gonna bring you right here. So what we wanna do is actually go and type in our email address. So I'm gonna type in, and then we're gonna say enter. It's going to ask us for a password. And it's gonna ask for our store name as well. And for store name, you can really call it whatever you want. For this one, I'm gonna call it Santrel Merchandise. or Santrel merch. I'm just going to call it santrelmerch.myshopify.com. We can change the domain later. I'm just going to start you off with the myshopify.com domain, which again, obviously you don't want that, but naming your store is going to be relatively important. So now they're creating our store. Just a couple steps here. You're going to have to wait maybe a minute until it's actually set up, and we're going to go through. Before we start building the store, I want to give you guys the layout of the land here and show you what Shopify is really all about so that further on down the road, if anything happens or you want to change anything, you'll have a good idea of where things are on Shopify and how to actually manage your settings and things like that. Now, before we actually get to the dashboard, they're going to ask us a couple questions. So are we already selling? I'm going to say I'm not selling any products yet. Maybe I'm new. And do you want to sell products through drop shipping? Yes, I do. In addition, you're a Shopify store. Where else would you like to sell online? So we're going to sell on Facebook. We're going to sell on Google. Let's just do all three. You're going to select all of those. And that's really not going to change a lot for me. We could skip this if we wanted to, but it's just going to add a couple items to my dashboard to make it easier to set these up in the future. So what's your current revenue? I'm just getting started. In which industry? I'm going to do clothing for this video, but of course we could be selling really whatever we want. I'll show you what the Printful library really looks like in a minute, but let's go and continue. Now we have to type in our address, obviously, so we can get paid. So make sure you're using a proper address, not a P.O. box. A lot of P.O. boxes are kind of weird because they only work with U.S. mail, meaning you cannot get anything from FedEx or DHL or anything like that. So make sure you're using a proper business address. It might be your house. It might be like a UPS box or something some people use, but it has to be a real physical address. All right, and now it's going to bring us to our dashboard, like I said. So the dashboard is going to essentially show you a little bit more about what is dropshipping. That's what I said. Because we selected that, yes, we're doing dropshipping, they're just going to give us a little bit more material related to what we're trying to do. Hopefully this tutorial shows you what you need, so you don't require that anyway. But they have this nice little checklist down here of about, 7 items right here, 8 items that we're actually going to go through in this video. And then, of course, scrolling down, this might look a little bit different depending on how you selected or how you answered the questions earlier on in like about a minute ago. So I'm not going to focus too much on the dashboard here. But otherwise, on the left side, we will see our orders. And when people are placing orders, they are going to be showing up here. You don't really have to worry about shipping orders out, so you don't really have to worry about this tab too much unless you have somebody calling your customer service line and they want a refund or they want to talk about their order, ask where it is, things like that. That's where you'd actually go to see the orders. The products you can manage, you don't need inventory, but you can manage your products all right here. We are doing print on demand. Don't click on that yet. We'll show you how to do that in just a second. But we have customers, and this is going to essentially show you who bought from your website or your store, and you can see a little bit more about the customers. This is great for remarketing to them or just getting a general idea of who might be buying from your store, the demographics of them, maybe where they're from, things like that. You can learn a little bit more about your customers. Finances, we'll talk about this later on in the video as far as your net sales and your profit margins. Analytics is going to be a huge one as well, and this is one that I'll cover a little bit in this video, but because this is going to be a new store, this is something that you'll probably experiment with a lot more in the future once you actually have some traffic and some sales. It's a really great tool to go and look at what the conversion rate is, what's doing really well, where the problem is. So if you see everybody's adding to cart, but for some reason not checking out, maybe you have a problem with like the shipping. Maybe they're worried about something when they get to the checkout page, and you might want to change a couple things in there. But it's really a very, very powerful resource in optimizing your store further on down the road. Marketing is going to be a huge segment of this tutorial where we're going to talk about how to use Facebook marketing, Instagram marketing, email marketing, a lot of other things. And there are quite a few other apps in here that we will talk about later on. Discounts is, again, a really powerful tool. We'll talk about that as well, where you can get different coupons for sales that's % off, $1 off, free shipping, things like that. And of course, much, much more in the app segment down here. But what we want to do first, before anything else, once we got down to this little apps tab, is actually go and add the Printful app. So they actually have a whole bunch of suggestions here. I'm going to go and find the Printful app. So the way you can actually find Printful, I was never a big fan of the way Shopify sets this up, but if you just click on show more apps in this collection, it'll take you over to the Shopify App Store. And from here, you can go on the top. I mean, you're not interested in any of these 6 right now. We can go to the top. We can go to categories. We can go to sourcing and selling products. And we can go to drop shipping. And from here, you'll see Printful is one of the top options. As I said, Printful is a really, really popular one. So I'm going to click on Printful. And once I click on that, it's going to ask me if we want to install it on our store. So right there, we're going to say Add App. We're going to add the app. And it's going to ask us to confirm things. It says you're about to install Printful, print on demand on your Shopify store. So we are actually going to go and say install the app. And after a minute, it's going to scroll and it's going to do that. Now we're actually going to have to sign in. Now, this is where I said before, you want to make sure that you signed up before. It's just a lot easier to do. So I'm going to click on continue right here because you already have an account. Continue with your Shopify at santrelmedia.com account. Say continue. That's exactly what I want to do. Connect your store to that. So we're going to click on the big red button there. And just like that, our store is connected. You can see it's a very, very easy way to set that up. And then from here, now that this is embedded in our store, we actually have a nice connection. So any products we make on here should very easily sync over to our store. So from the Shopify homepage, one really, really important step we need to do before we can do absolutely anything with our website. Nobody can buy it, nobody can do anything. Like, we need to make sure that we select a plan. Shopify does have a 14-day free trial, which is a really, really great free trial, great way to set things up and get everything set up before you start paying for it. But I recommend setting it up as quickly as possible to go to select a plan. This way, you don't end up forgetting and losing all your progress. Additionally, it's also a way to start making money immediately so you don't have to wait until you finally set up your store and pay for it before you can start making money. So they don't want you to be able to just set up a free trial, sell a couple items, and then close the store. You're not actually able to sell anything until you pay for the plan. So out of these three plans, the most popular one and the one we're going to choose is the cheapest one. I'm all about saving money for you guys, and the way to do that is obviously with the lowest plan here, the Shopify Basic, because you don't really need the other things yet. You don't have 5 locations. You don't have, maybe you have 5 staff members and you can upgrade here, but in the beginning, you really don't need that stuff. But additionally, as you start to scale, you want to keep these in mind. This is a really big one here because as you start to sell more and more product, 2.6% versus 2.9% might be a difference of more than $50 per month. And if it is, then it's going to make sense to go with the higher plan and end up paying less in those fees. Additionally, 3.6% versus 3.9%. And if it's American Express, that's about the same as domestic. So that's great for international. And of course, in person, it's a little bit cheaper here. So as you scale, you want to keep in mind, keep doing the math. There's great calculators out there that can help you decide based on what your revenues are, which plan is actually going to be the most profitable and the least costly for you. Obviously, when you're starting out and I would assume have almost no revenue, you'd want to choose the basic plan. And so that's what we're going to do in this video. I'm going to choose the basic plan. You can choose how long you want the billing cycle. You do save a lot of money if you go with 2 years or 3 years. 3 years is pretty bold. That's really confident that your brand is going to really thrive for that long, and it's also about almost $1,000. I would really recommend either yearly or bi-yearly. 2 years does save you a huge amount of money, so that's usually the sweet spot I go for, where you're paying $500. But you're getting a store that is fully set up for 2 years, and you're saving a pretty decent amount of money. Now, this being a tutorial, I'm not actually selling anything on this after this video. I'm going to close the store when we're done. So I'm going to go with monthly, just so I can, not spend all of my money on this tutorial, because it is a free tutorial. Which, by the way, if you guys are enjoying this tutorial, consider liking and subscribing down below. We're paying to set all this up and just showing you this as free information. Really appreciate the support of the channel. And this is something that, as I might have mentioned in the beginning of the video, a lot of people charge hundreds or even thousands of dollars to learn how to set this up and step by step how to make an online store. We believe in free information at Santrel Media. We're not selling a course at any point in this video. So at this point, I really want to start talking a little bit more about what products we have available and how to actually make those products. So from the left side, you can see we're at stores. So right now, we do have a store. We can actually go and add a product. So I'm going to click on Add Product. And from here, you have a lot of categories on the left side. So we have men's clothing, and you've got t-shirts, jackets, hoodies, sweatpants, underwear. I mean, if you guys want to make, look at this. If you want to make underwear with your brand on it, you can do that. So, I mean, it's crazy how many options you actually have. Of course, we've got hats as well. So if you want to make like a 5-panel hat, super easy, just brand it. And there's a lot of different ways you can brand with Printful as well. It's not just printing. They also do embroidering and a lot of other things, a lot of other techniques as well. I'm not an expert in some of those different techniques. Most of the stuff I've done has just been printing. But let's close hats and see what other ones we have. We've got accessories, which could be bags, it could be phone cases. If you want to make an iPhone case with your brand on it, again, very, very easy. Even a biodegradable case right here with your brand on it, and they're selling for $10.25. You would then mark that up with your brand on there, and you're now selling a case, even if it's only $20, you're selling a phone case that's custom for your audience that looks really cool and is ready to go with just a couple clicks of a button. We've got face masks, obviously being 2022. That's something that they added pretty recently. We've got keychains, footwear, shoes. You can even get shoes, and shoes are really cool because there are different ways to customize like the full shoe design, not just the little print on there. And they're really not even that expensive. $31 when you're doing that. You can see how you're easily going to be getting some pretty decent margins on something like that. Of course, that's all just in accessories right here. Below that, we've got tons of other things like home and living. So if you want to have towels and blankets and pillows, you can have postcards, drinkware, a lot. Like, okay, you guys get the idea. There's a lot you can choose from here. For the purposes of this video, I'm gonna start off just by making a t-shirt, just a pretty basic t-shirt. I think this is what a lot of people would probably be interested in making. So we're gonna go and click on t-shirts. Now, t-shirts, you'll see that we have a lot of t-shirts to choose from, and so it can be a little tricky to know which one's actually the best one. So I recommend reading through all of them, looking at the colors available, looking at the reviews of them, and understanding which ones are actually going to have decent quality. This one right here has a lot of 5-star reviews, and it's a pretty low price as well. So I'm gonna start off using this t-shirt right here. So once you click on the shirt, you'll see that it's going to ask us to design it. We can drop our design in there. We can choose what colors and sizes are available. But again, I know this is going to sound like we keep going off track. We started with the store, we went to the shirts. Now we're going to go over to the design, and we're going to circle and tie everything back together in just a little bit. So when you're making your design, I already have a design I'm going to use. It's just going to be the logo of Santrel Media, but I'm going to show you guys a couple ways you can actually make a design of your own. So the first way, which is the easiest and the freest way to do this, is actually using canva.com. So we have a link you can use in the description below, or you can just type in, honestly, just canva.com. You can log in, you can create a free account, and then from here, it's really easy to make a logo as well as really anything else. So this is also a great tool. I recommend it for marketing materials, for Instagram posts, for advertisements, for YouTube channel art. Like, they really have a lot of templates, and it's really easy to make pretty much anything you want. So let's start off using Canva. I actually have an account, so I'm going to sign in. And from here, we can say create a design. So the first design, let's just say it's going to be a logo, 500 pixels by 500 pixels. And this is something that we will need to use really throughout the entire video. All right, so before we actually make the logo, we can get some inspiration on the left side from these templates, but for the rest of this video, I will be using the Santrel Media logo just because that's what I actually am interested in doing. But if you want to say, for example, we're making a product for like people who love houseplants. The first thing, and this is a nice tip here, is if you have an idea of a niche that you think is going to be interested in your merchandise, you can first check a couple places. The old school way was to check Facebook for Facebook groups, but honestly, Facebook groups are not as big as they used to be. Like, I personally don't really use Facebook groups for anything. I don't know if you guys do. It's really a generational thing. So what I like to do is I like to go and check on Reddit and see how big the groups are. So if you look up Reddit and you check out houseplants, let's actually do that right now. So if we say Reddit, houseplants, I'm pretty confident there's going to be a very large community. So Reddit slash houseplants, you can see right here, we'll check out how many people are actually involved in this, and there's 1 million members. So obviously a very, very large community, and that's just one of the houseplant communities. I guarantee there are many, many more out there. So that's how I already know there's going to be a pretty significant interest on here. Additionally, we can go to YouTube and type in houseplants and see if there's a lot of influencers here. You can see that, first of all, we have a lot of ads on the top, which means there's a lot of money in houseplants. And then down here, we've got some really big channels that are all verified, all talking about houseplants. Obviously, this is going to be a really, really big niche that a lot of people are interested in. So there's a couple ways. Like I said, YouTube, Reddit are really, really popular ones, but you could dig into different Discord groups and find out if there is enough interest in your niche. And when in doubt, I would recommend niching down even more. So if you're looking at tropical houseplants or succulent houseplants, like, I would recommend really niching down because the internet is so big these days. Whatever it is that you're interested in, that you think you can make your brand about, there's almost definitely going to be a fairly large group out there. And the more niche down it is, the more it's going to resonate with that group, and the more likely they are to spend more money and buy more of the products you're selling. So just for the example right here, to make a logo, I'm going to do houseplants. We're going to say that maybe houseplants in general, we want to make some merchandise about that, have some kind of little fun saying in there. So let's make a logo for a houseplant brand. So we're gonna go down here and see if there's any that actually inspire us. None of these are really jumping out. This one's a nice little simple one right there. So we might want to start with that. And the idea here is that you want to choose one that is close enough to what you want that you can start with, and then you can actually fully customize it, change the colors, the font, and things like that. But just to give you a nice starting point, maybe this one right here, nice earthy design. So let's say if we wanted to do something like this, so we can go and change everything else. So let's change the text on the top by double clicking, and we're gonna say houseplant. So we're gonna say houseplants and click off of that. And on the bottom, we can say something like, we can say like better living, houseplants. And in the middle, we can say, so let's just call this like plant friends. And then we can change the color of the whole thing, but let's change this little icon on the top. And so from here, obviously it's like a honeycomb and a coffee bean. Those are not the icons we want, but fortunately Canva has a lot of free ones that you can use. So if we go to Elements, if you have Canva Pro, you're able to access even more, but if you don't, you could just use quite a few free ones as well. So right here, I think that maybe this one would be a good one that we could use. I'm just gonna set this on the side and use it in a second. A nice little plant. And now let's search for plants. See other plants we have. Actually, I really like this little pot. That's a good one. I think that'll blend in really, really well. And other than that, let's just say maybe a hanging one. We can have a hanging one up top and a little one on the bottom. So let's actually get rid of that one. I like these other two. And of course, we can change the colors of them as well so that they're kind of more in line with each other. So I'm gonna change the colors of this one so we can have our main color, which is this orange. I want it to match the terracotta instead, which I believe is one of these colors. Let's go and add it based on the color. So we can go and match that color. There we go, it matches it. And then we can make the next color here, which is this one. We want it to be similar to this. Actually, we could just keep it flat like that. Okay, so there we go. Now we have the two little icons. I'm gonna shrink this down and make it hang from the letter P right there. Let's actually delete this little honeycomb. So we're gonna go put houseplant right there. All right, so this is by no means a great logo, but you can see that just in a minute or so, I made like a relatively decent-ish logo. It's clearly off balance, and I would probably change the aspect ratio of it just a bit to make it more square, but still, we have something that is somewhat ready to go. So let's go and click on download, and when you're downloading this, you can choose the size of it, you can choose transparent background, which is what I'm going to do. Of course, white background would work as well, but depending on what you're printing this on, transparent background is usually a little bit more versatile. So I'd recommend downloading twice, one with transparent and one without transparent. We're gonna be using PNG because that's going to be the format that allows you to have that transparent background. We don't want to compress it, and we're just going to say download. Now, something to note is the little crowns on the right side. These are things you can only do if you have Canva Pro, so don't worry about it. If you don't have that, you can always just use one of the other tools. So we're gonna say download right now, and this is going to be our first design. So this has been downloaded. Now, I want to actually make a shirt out of this logo. I think it looks really cool. And so rather than leaving it as a 500 pixel by 500 pixel, like that's a really tiny image, that's not going to stretch out well on a shirt. And if we save this as an image file, when you blow it up, it's going to look really, really bad. But the way the file is actually saved, or the graphics saved in Canva, is using something called vectors, which means that as you scale it, it's still going to look really, really good. So what I'm going to do right now is actually click in the corner and highlight everything here. We're gonna click Control-C or Command-C if you're using Mac, so we can copy this, and then we're actually gonna go and duplicate this tab, so just open Canva again in another tab. We're going to say File, Create New Design, and our new design, we want it to be, let's just say a poster, 18 inches by 24, so very, very large. It's always better to start with something large and shrink it down when you're using this on, for example, a t-shirt. Like I said, because when you're shrinking it down, it's still going to have really good quality. If you stretch it out, it's going to get really bad. So I'm gonna paste the design right here. I'm gonna click on the corner and stretch it way out. And you can see, like I said, because we're doing it like this, if we zoom in with this little slider on the bottom, you can see we still have razor sharp detail on the entire image. And now it's saved as a much larger image that we can then save and put on the t-shirt. So I'm gonna click on download. We're going to save this as a PNG again. I will use transparent background. I think that's gonna probably look best on multiple colors of t-shirts. And I'm going to download this right now. But of course, there are other ways to make your design as well. The next one, which is not going to be free to use, but it is going to be free because it technically is your time that you're using, and this is actually using Photoshop or any of the Adobe suite. Adobe really gives you a ton of versatility, and so although it is easier to use Canva, and for most beginners, I would recommend starting with that. If you want something of a more complicated design, design, you might want to be using Adobe Photoshop. Or what I tend to do the most is I actually start off with Canva, get some inspiration, get a reasonable design, so maybe like this, and then I would move it over to Photoshop, and that's when you can really tweak things, change how it actually looks, change the font a little bit more, and really customize it perfectly to have exactly the design you want. And of course, the third option is going to be using something like Fiverr or Upwork. Fiverr, if you just go to Fiverr.com, and there are 2 R's on that, you can see that we have right here, we can go to logo design, we can search, and you have a ton of people who have made logos. Now, I would have to sign in, of course, but you can go and pay someone $5, $10, $20, $30 to make a pretty decent logo with a very quick turnaround as well. It'd be ready within maybe a day or two, maybe even slightly more than that, but still a pretty easy way to make a logo without spending a lot of money or a lot of time. But whenever possible, I generally recommend making it yourself, guys, because you are going to have a better idea of what you want, and it's going to be easier to not have to communicate back and forth with somebody about what you want. But you know, the option's there if you really don't have time and if you're really bad with designing. All right, so once we've made the logo as well as several designs, I think for a lot of stores, it's probably a good idea to make like 4 or 5 designs to start with, because you don't know which ones are going to be the best sellers. You don't want to just make one design and then end up not selling it, and you wonder if it was because of the product or if it was because of the marketing or if it was just because it wasn't a good design. So remove the third variable there, just making multiple designs. Again, it's really low risk, so just make 4 or 5 designs that you think all look really nice and list them all on your site. As long as they're relatively different, maybe they have different colors, different words, different pictures, whatever it might be. I'm gonna go with the first design, which is just our logo for the purposes of this, because you know, it's gonna be a little bit simpler just to show you guys exactly how we're doing this. All right, so now let's circle back to where we left off with the unisex staple t-shirt, the Bella plus Canvas 3001, and we wanna be sure we're choosing, first of all, printing, not embroidering, because embroidering a very large design would be incredibly expensive and incredibly complicated. You don't wanna do that. We're gonna choose printing, and then here we can choose what colors the t-shirt is going to be available on our store with. I'm gonna choose just black and white, but you could select all of them if you really wanted a massive variety. I think it's a little bit too much. Let's just go with black and with white, so you don't have to worry about the graphics blending in with some colors or other ones. Like black and white are pretty universal. They're probably gonna be pretty strong sellers, and so that's gonna be my main option here. We can choose the sizes. Again, I don't really need some of these really extreme sizes. They're gonna be very, very large, so let's get rid of 2, 3, 4, and 5XL. Just go with the main 5 right here. That's more common to be seen on a lot of shelves in stores. And so, you know, there's a reason that the general bell curve fits, for the most part, most people are going to be within those sizes, which does mean you will potentially be losing customers with the larger sizes. But for the sake of simplicity, that's what I'm gonna go with right now. So now as far as the actual design, we can add text on here, clip art, we could design it right here, but that's gonna be a little bit tackier. That's more if you have like a work volleyball team and you want to make fun shirts, like, yeah, maybe you do it like that. But since we're trying to make a brand out of this, I'm going to choose a file. We do already have files that we can upload, obviously the ones we just made on Canva. Of the files we already had, remember Houseplants was the one that was a tiny little 500 by 500 logo, whereas the untitled one, I just didn't name it, has significantly more pixels and is a much larger design, which we're going to start with that, and we can shrink it down as needed. So I'm going to click on open for this one. It's going to be absolutely massive, and we are most likely going to have to shrink this down. So I'm going to click on select. It's going to put that right here, and you can see that's like the entire shirt right there, which is really, really big. You can see if we drag it, it fits almost perfectly, but I could shrink it down very slightly and center that right here. And there we go. So now we have the first shirt ready to go. We can see what it looks like in other colors as well. So we can see what it looks like on the black one. It still looks pretty decent. I think the colors could be a little bit lighter, like the brown text. It's gonna be a little trickier to read, but still, I think it looks decent enough, especially with good print quality, that both of these are going to look reasonably good. So this is printing on the front. Now, you don't always have to just print on the front. Generally, I prefer to print on the front of almost every t-shirt. I never really do prints on the back, but you can do an outside label if you wanna have something on like the top back. Some people do that. Again, it might look a little bit more premium as your brand can be more recognized by other people. But again, I don't do that. You have inside label as well, which is going to be like on the upper inside of the shirt. You can add this. It's going to add a couple dollars to the product price. So I'm not necessarily going to do that. If it's like merch, you don't have to do that. But if you're starting a brand, so again, there are 2 main reasons you'd want to be doing print on demand. Either you are selling merch as you are like a creator, an influencer, something like that, an artist. I wouldn't really do the inside label. If you're really constructing a brand, this is where I'd recommend putting your logo on the inside. So I drop the design in there. And here, again, we don't want the massive one. Let's actually go and upload our little logo so it's a nice little size. That's what we needed anyway. So it makes sense to use the houseplants logo. So you can see right here, this is going to show up right there, and it's going to show us like made in Nicaragua. It's going to show the size, the material, and like the ironing, stuff like that. And now your logo is going to be ready to go in that little box right there. So I think honestly, that looks pretty good. But of course, as you can see, it added about $1 or $1.74 to the product just by doing that. If you don't want it, just click on the little X, and that's not going to be there. The left and right sleeve, again, we could add things here, but you'll see that if we drop our design in here, let's just add again the same little logo, it's going to add $1.74 to print it on there. This could be something that you want to do if you're willing to spend that extra money and you think it's really going to improve your product, but it's not something that I'm going to do on this product right here. So going back to the front, this is the first product. You can see it looks pretty good. So we're going to go and proceed to media. So now we can choose the main mock-up image for each color. Now we can do it together like this, or kind of a little bit of a bug in the interface. The white, there is a white square there, so if we click on that, it says white. So we could choose a separate one for each color. So we could say for black, let's start with that one. I would say I really like this picture, but I don't like the way that looks. It's a really dark background. So instead, I might say that for black, maybe we would choose one of these other characters down here. Maybe this one looks pretty good. And then for white, separately, let's go select white. I think that this might be maybe like this one right here. So you can see here are the two main mockups we have, and we could choose this as the main mockup image overall. And now we can say proceed to details. Of course, it doesn't really matter that much which one you choose. And I can show you later on where to find other mockup images that you can use around your site, some other free tools. And so here we're going to actually describe the product. So the overall description language, I think obviously it's going to be in English. The product title, we might want to change this product title so it's not just short sleeve unisex t-shirt. Instead we could say Plant Friends. I don't know why I chose that, by the way. It was just like whatever came to mind. Plant Friends short sleeve unisex t-shirt. Okay, we're just gonna leave it as that. And the description, we can add a little bit more here if you want. Of course, we can also add this over in Shopify. We can have a size guide attached to this if you want people to have a decent idea of maybe like what size they should be wearing. I think for t-shirts, it's pretty standard, pretty common. I think that won't really be an issue. And we can add tags here if we want. We can add it to collections. I'm not going to add it to collections just yet. We're going to make our collections over in Shopify. And now we can proceed to pricing. So here you can see that we have quite a few configurations, obviously being so let's close out of that. Obviously being the different sizes we have. And so the differences with sizing are really not especially large. You can see that the price is going to be about 50 cents difference is the suggestion there. So overall, you can see that we're getting about $1.55 in revenue right there, which is very, very low. So I think instead, we'd probably want this to be a little bit higher. Let's say set retail for all of these to be, if it's $12, maybe you want to sell it for like $27.95. $27.95, apply, and that's going to give us a $15 profit on all of them, which is, you know, a pretty comfortable profit once you factor in marketing and things like that. You probably want to be aiming for something at least $10, but of course this definitely depends on what kind of marketing you're doing. Of course, if you're an influencer and you have a massive audience, then, you know, maybe you want to give back a little bit, have slimmer margins. You're not paying for marketing. It's just going to be on your brand, on your Instagram, your whatever it might be. And so, you know, it depends. You can choose your pricing right there. Now we're going to go down here, and once we're done, I'm just going to assume that all of these are the same. Even though extra small is technically cheaper, I'm just going to make them all the same price, and we can submit this to the store. So now we should have our first product. It's going to be, you gotta wait just a minute, and then we're gonna actually add another one right now. So obviously the little Plant Friends one was just an example. Now I wanna make one, maybe not a t-shirt, maybe instead like a hoodie or a crew neck, and I want this to be a Santrel Media one. So let's actually wait just a second, and then we'll add that. All right, it's been about maybe 20 or 30 seconds, and I didn't click anything. The page just loaded to this, and you can see if we scroll down, this is the first product we have. It's synced. There's 10 different variations, meaning 5 sizes, 2 colors, and nothing was not synced, nothing was ignored. We can edit the product if we want. We can also edit in Shopify. It's going to sync over to our Shopify store, and we can check that right now, actually. So if we go over to Shopify, let's refresh this. And so now that we have the app, it's all integrated in here. We should be able to go back up to products. We see right there, it's there. If we go up to products, there it is. It's now synced. Inventory is not tracked. This is obviously not a problem because you're not holding inventory. It's something that they're managing all of that on the back end, so you don't have to worry about tracking the inventory. But here, we can actually customize this a little bit more within the Shopify dashboard. So if we click on it, you're able to edit a little bit from the Shopify end. Of course, the description, like I said, it did give us those 2 pictures, but if we want to have more, either right here or other places on our site, there are quite a few free tools to do this. I think Canva is a pretty strong first option as well, but there's also a website called Placeit that a lot of people in the industry use. So if we just go to placeit.net, I don't know why they chose .net, .com is just like a little squatter domain. So placeit.net will take you to this, and you're actually able to choose a lot of different poses and people doing this. Now, of course, you want it to be relatively consistent with this. Like, you don't want something that looks completely different place, and it's going to be really obvious that you did something like a Placeit, for example. But if you find something that's relatively similar vibe to what your product's going to be, then I think that's really that's really a big positive there. So if we go to mockups, apparel, and go over to t-shirt videos, or actually t-shirt photos first, t-shirt videos, we'll see that in a second. You can go down here and you'll see that we have, I mean, obviously, like, this is what I mean. Like, this right here is going to obviously be very different from the first 2 photos. So maybe you don't want to go with like an AARP style photo. Instead, we have like this young guy walking out, looks like really confident. We want something that portrays a very similar, even though it's almost a bit ironic. I think Plant Friends would probably look better on this, but regardless, it's just a mock-up for a tutorial right here. So let's go and find another photo that we think would look good. And so maybe something like maybe like this one right here, if we want to go with that. Let's just take a look right now and see exactly what we're dealing with. So if you click on this pose, this shot right here, you can actually insert your image. So we're going to upload our design. So we're going to upload from our device. We're going to select this one. It's going to crop it in a little bit. We're going to say crop, and it's going to place it on there. And it already has like the wrinkles and everything, so it already looks really good. And so now we're all set to go. So the only other thing you'd have to do is actually go and download this. And of course, there is a white mark all the way, a watermark on here. So you will have to purchase these if you want to use them. So you can only buy this one. It's $8, or you can pay $15 a month, and you get unlimited mockups. This is something that, I mean, obviously this is just a tutorial for me, so I'm not going to pay for this. But as you're starting an actual store, this is a really powerful tool here, having mockups and only $15 a month. Even if you only pay for it for a little bit and you get all the photos you want, it's really a powerful tool that I highly recommend. And again, a lot of people in the industry do use this just because they do such a good job. You can see that I personally think that this already looks pretty realistic right there. Now, it's not perfect, and something I highly, highly recommend, as I said earlier on in this video, is that you do request samples, especially if you have a camera or a friend who has a good camera and you have some experience, or at least a quick Google search on how to take good photos. Then I would really recommend getting samples and taking your own photos. It's going to be more realistic. You can have a more consistent setup across all of your different products, and additionally, it's really going to be exactly the feel and the style you're looking for your product without having anything even remotely fake or suspicious about it. So that's what I would recommend. Again, they do a really good job here with Placeit, so this is a really strong first option. But once, maybe in a couple weeks, once you get your product, or a couple days when you get your product, and you really have your store finalized, I recommend taking your own photos or videos, especially videos, to make sure that you're able to really optimize it. But for now, I'm just going to go with, I don't pay for this, so I'm not going to get this right now. I'm going to close out. And some of the other options we have here, I mentioned videos as well. So if we go over here to apparel, we go to t-shirt videos, especially because we are selling this t-shirt right now, you can go down, and this is actually even more impressive when you find some pretty reasonable videos here, like maybe this one right here. So if we click on that, and we can actually put our logo on here, it's very incredible what they're able to do these days. So let's insert our image. Let's go to recently uploaded. We're not logged in, so it doesn't remember what we uploaded. Let's go and upload a new one. We're going to upload our design. We're going to crop it, and you'll see it'll show up. Usually takes about a minute or two until it actually shows up. And obviously being a video that's being fabricated remotely, so some cloud computing here, it's gonna take a little bit of time, so we can actually come back to this in just a minute. But going back here, some other things we can change on our Shopify product page. Of course, like I said, we can add this to some different categories, and I realize I haven't actually shown you everything that's going on with the product customization. So of course, we have the title, we have the description. Within the description, something that a lot of people don't realize you can do is this is actually a full-blown editor. So this text editor, you can add links in there, you can add images in there, you can add videos in there. So if you want to insert a video into the description, which will show up on your product page, that's something that can make it a little bit more robust and really fill it out a little more. I recommend if you have a lot of things like this, we could go through here and start adding some bold phrases. So something that we really like. So we could say like pre-shrunk. Maybe that's like a really important saying or really important phrase. We could add that as a bold thing. We could say like authentic. So we can add bold to that and just really start highlighting like ring spun cotton. That sounds like a good phrase. We can start adding some bold to that. And additionally, if there's anything that we think we want to talk more about, like our story, we want to give more of a background on this, or maybe something about like a warranty or return policy, you can highlight. So let's just say this right here, maybe that we want to talk about an About Us page. We can insert a link and we can link over in the same window or in a new window to another page, either on this site or on some other website. If you have like a medium.com article, if you have a site here, I recommend doing it here. And so later in the video, once we make an About Us page and things like that, we can actually add links, come back and add links to the descriptions like this. So if somebody's reading the product, they can click on that and go over and learn more about your product or about your brand. And it's something that can really build a nice, strong brand around everything going on. Going down, you have your media. Of course, as I said, you can add more media. If you either get that from, of course, you can get that from Printful, or of course, you can get some more media from Placeit, for example. And then going down, we have our options. So we have 2 colors and we have 5 sizes there. So these are all the variants, and we can choose like the different colors for each one as well. It automatically chose the colors and the sizes and kind of matched them together. But if you want to say like maybe for extra small, maybe this guy doesn't look extra small, so you want to find a model that is extra small that you could have wear the shirt, and it'd be a more realistic representation of what the customer is actually going to get. So again, that ties in with buying one of everything that you're selling and really making sure that it looks good. And lastly, we have the website SEO. I'm going to click edit on this right now, and you can see that right now it says Plant Friends short sleeve unisex t-shirt. Now we might want to have the brand name over here. So I usually think that looks good when you have the brand name in the Google search results. So we could say Santrel merch. Santrel merch, since that's like the store that I'm running right now. And of course, we can have our description here that is going to show up in Google. That's way too many characters. So let's just leave it at maybe like right there. So that's what we need. And of course, you want this to be, this has 195 to 320 characters. Really, about 155 to 200 characters is the sweet spot. And that's really what I'd recommend. So you can flesh it out more if you want, but not all of it's going to show up, especially on like desktop or mobile searches. Like each one is going to show up slightly differently. And of course, down here, your URL handle, this is sometimes called the URL slug. So we could call this plant friends shirt. Plant Friends t-shirt. So that's the URL right now. And now we can actually save this. But actually, one other thing on the top, I forgot to talk about the right side. Over here, we have a couple more options. Not especially exciting, but of course you can have if it's an active or a draft. So if you're making a new product, but you don't actually want to sell yet, you want to tweak it, you want to like really make sure that you buy a sample and test it out before you put it live on your store. So this is going to be like further on down the road once you have traffic on your store. You can make it as a draft instead of an active product. And then further on down here, we can see we can have product organization. So if you want to add type, vendor, collections, we will add this to collections a little bit later. We can add tags on here in case people are searching on your website. I usually try to avoid search features anyway on the website, but you can add tags just in case someday you want to have search features. So we could say t-shirt, t-shirt, shirt, and we could say t, whatever. We'll have those 4 things. So we're adding all 4 of those. And of course, the store, this can be default product as well. So now we're done. We can click save on here. It goes back. And now the first product is really finalized. Okay, so now that we have our plan set up, of course, like I said, we still have the free trial. So what we want to do now is actually set up that domain. So the domain is going to be a hugely important part of this. What we want to do is go down to settings. From here, we can go to, on the left side, domains. click on domains, and then within domains, right now the primary domain is santrelmerch.myshopify.com. And this is not, obviously it's not good. So if we go to a new tab and we go to domains.google.com, it'll show us this Google Domains, which is a great way to research domains, find similar domains, find the pricing on them. And so if I just want to say like santrelmerch.com, it's going to show us that santrelmerch.com is available, and through Google, it's $12 per year. Now, I'm not going to do this through Google. You can buy it through Namecheap or Squarespace or really dozens of other sources, and then you have to point the DNS, and it gets a little bit, it's not exactly user-friendly for beginners, and I think the easiest way to do it, and it doesn't really cost any more money, is just to buy directly through Shopify. That's what I've been recommending. It's just so easy. But the point of going over to Google Domains is just to search and make sure that it is available. Like if we looked up santrelmedia.com, you'll know that like that is already taken. It's this domain that we use on this channel. So it might recommend like santrel.media or santrelmedia.one. Usually .com is going to be the better option here, but it's a good idea to at least check Google Domains and get some other ideas for similar domains. But because santrelmerch.com is available, I'm going to go here and say santrelmerch.com. It's available for $14 per year, so approximately the same price that we saw on Google, and substantially easier just to buy it directly here. Way less of a headache. I promise. I've done that so many times for myself as well as for other people, and it can be a huge headache depending on where you're buying and where you're pointing to. So we're going to buy it directly through Shopify. They make it super easy. And now we're going to actually go and verify all of our information. I'm going to blur that out so I don't dox myself here. Personally, I usually recommend that anybody starting a new store, you're probably using your home address or your own phone number, your personal phone number. I think it's generally not a good idea to share that publicly, and I think it's a lot better to get the WHOIS privacy. So you're paying a little bit extra, and then instead of your name being online, it's going to be kind of hidden so no one can see your name, your address, and your phone number and your email connected to the domain. It keeps you a little bit more private and kind of out of the way of scammers and things like that. So the next thing is actually to check our email and verify the email that we have the domain with. So I'm going to do that. And now I've verified my information. The domain is ready to go and it should be set up. So if we go back to our tab, we can refresh this. And now the little warning went away. So we can actually go and visit our site by clicking on santrelmerch.com. Fair warning, it's going to be ugly because we didn't actually customize this yet, but we do have kind of a website here. So santrelmerch.com is something that is existing. Now it's password protected because we didn't actually unlock it to the public, which again is another one of the reasons we wanted to upgrade our site in the first place. That's why we chose a plan a while ago. And so we can actually make it public in just a second. I'm going to close out of some of these tabs here. We don't need all these other ones open though. And so from here, I know Google. And so from here, I'm not going to go through all the settings right now. I'm going to close out of this and kind of start working back through some of the main stuff on the site. So we now have a first product. We now have a domain on here. We don't have a theme. We're going to get to a theme, but I want to first make a couple more products because the theme is really built around the products you have. A lot of it kind of auto-populates. So once you have good products, good collections, the theme really ties it all together and it makes it a lot easier to visualize and pick a good theme for your site. So I'm going to go back to the apps down here. We're going to go back to Printful. We're going to click on Printful. It's going to take us back over here. Actually, I already have the tab open anyway. I'm going to just use this tab though. And from here, we're going to make another product. So let's go here and say add product. And the next product, like I said, I probably want it to be a hoodie or a crew neck of sorts. So we're going to go to let's go to hoodies right here. And of the hoodies, let's just say we want like a pretty basic one. Again, you want to make sure you're getting one that has really high reviews, really good quality fabric, and a pretty good price as well. So it looks like the first one is one of the best sellers here. Between these two, I think that, this one has some, I don't know, it looked similar enough, but this one has more reviews, so I'm going to choose this one right here. So we're going to choose it, and again, we're going through really almost the same process here exactly. And so out of the colors, I'm going to go with white on this one just because the branding for Santrel Media would look better on a white background. We are going to get rid of 3XL and 2XL. You guys really get the idea here. We could choose embroidery or we could choose printing. I'm going to be printing on this one, and we can choose the file now. The file, I'm just going to choose the Santrel logo. So we're going to let's go to upload. Let's go upload, the red button up there, and I'm going to choose this. I'm going to choose this one right here. We're going to say open, and from here, it's going to upload that. The logo is going to be ready to go, and we can select the logo. So select it, it's going to place it in the middle, and it's kind of like it's kind of an unusual shape. So we can actually add another image on here as well. So if we want to have like Santrel Media and we want to have maybe the secondary logo, we can add another image on here. So if we choose another file, let's go and choose a file, let's click upload, and I have this one as well. So this one has, I believe, no background on here. And this is why I choose to have no background. In case you have multiple images, they can kind of overlap a little bit without having like a weird white box around them. So let's go and select this one now, and we can put this one like right below it. So Santrel Media, we want to make sure that this is the proper size in the print area. It's like right there. Let's lower slightly. There we go. And so don't show that again. It's just trying to warn me that. All right, so I think I have a design that I kind of like here. Everything's centered. I think the sizing looks decent, and now we can actually go and proceed with the media. If we zoom in, it said it had to enlarge the photo a little bit. I think it still looks pretty good though, so I'm not gonna be too worried about that. And I'm going to say proceed. In general, like I said, it's almost always, or actually it is always better to start with a very, very large image and then shrink it down. So now we can see the mock-ups. We can have wrinkled ones, we can have flat ones, we can have people wearing them. So maybe let's just go with like this right here. Just have a female wearing this as opposed to before we only had males wearing the t-shirts. So it's probably good, and obviously depending on your market, to have both sexes wearing it so people can see how it would fit. And so I'm gonna go with maybe this right here, or maybe this guy wearing it. I'm gonna go with this. So we're gonna proceed with details. Now we can choose the hoodie. So I'm gonna say unisex hoodie. We want this to be Santrel Media unisex hoodie. And again, I'm not going to change anything else on here. We can add tags all over on Shopify. We will proceed to pricing. Here our revenue is we're only getting $3 profit out of this, or $3 revenue really, because we're not spending the rest. And so again, we probably want to make this a little bit more than $29. Maybe we can make this like $39 and actually make them all $39, make them all $39. And there we go. So now we're making $13 profit on each of them. They're gonna be a little harder to ship anyway. And if we're absorbing free shipping in there, you usually want a higher price as well. So we are going to submit this to the store. So you can see 4 are synced. Those are just the 4 different sizes we chose. And let's actually quickly add 2 more products on here. I'm gonna just click add product. The next one, let's do something a little bit different. Maybe accessories down here, and we can choose, maybe this is going to be a phone case. So let's not reload the site. Let's go and choose iPhone cases. And we can just say iPhone case, maybe a biodegradable one would be really cool. I think I mentioned this earlier in the video. I always think biodegradable products are really cool these days. And as far as phones, we don't need all these different iPhones. Let's deselect all of them and just stick with the iPhone 13 regular, which is also the same as the Pro, by the way, or same size at least as the Pro. And we can choose our file. Let's choose unfortunately, there's not really a color we can choose from. Let's choose a file we can upload. And again, I'm just going to use one of these Santrel icons here. We're going to go with this one here. It's obviously absolutely massive, so we want it to be a little bit smaller than that so you can see more than just the letter L on there. So let's go and shrink this one way down. Shrink it way down again, and maybe I want to even rotate that 90 degrees. Now, obviously, dark on dark doesn't look good, but with this one, fortunately, we can also print the background color as well. So let's make the background white. Now it actually looks substantially better. Santrel Media on a white background on a phone. I think that looks cool. Okay, so we can proceed. You guys know the drill. We're just going to kind of populate this and get a couple more products. This one, that's the main mock-up. But you can actually, I think this is really cool, actually. Let's have some other ones. Maybe if it's sitting on like a table, I think that looks really cool. I kind of like this more of a 3D angle right there. So let's say proceed to details. That's the main mock-up image, even though it's not showing ours right there. So I'm going to say proceed to pricing. And the pricing on this, a $5 profit, whatever, $20 for a phone case. Let's submit that to the store as well. This is going to take a minute to actually generate this. And we're going to make our 4th and final product then. All right, so even though before it didn't render our design on the phone case, you can see right here, now it is doing that. So it should be all set. There is one configuration and it's synced. So if we go over to Shopify and we go back up to products, it should show all 3 of our products. There we go. We have all 3 of them. And again, remember when you're doing this, always go back and check out each one. Make sure it's set up properly in Shopify. So just like we did before, you can go and customize the description. I highly recommend you do that for every single product. Don't just use the description here because first of all, pretty much everybody who's using Printful is getting a really similar description, which is not good for Google to see that. And additionally, you kind of want to make sure that you're putting your own spin on it, you're having your own branding in there, you tell your own story, and you want the products to be, like, you want the niche you're marketing to really resonate with your product. And just seeing like this, it's useful information, but this paragraph, I think, up here is really what you might want to change. So, of course, going down here, everything looks good so far. We want to update the SEO on the bottom so it's not like a bajillion characters right here, and you can shorten that. I think, of course, let's say Santrel Media hoodie. There we go. And I'm going to save that. So now we'll click back. All right. Let's make a fourth and final product right now. Going back here, let's go and place a new product. So we're going to click on new product. From here, I don't know. It really doesn't matter what we're choosing. We can go down to brands, and you've got some kind of bigger brands here. So if you want something specifically from like FlexFit or something like that, you could get, I believe that's going to be a hat. So you could choose a FlexFit hat or a visor or a bucket hat or whatever you want. Let's see if we can find something a little bit crazier on here. If we go down to home and living, I bet there's going to be something interesting there. Maybe a flag would be interesting. You can print all over a flag. So that's one of the big things as well I didn't mention earlier. Whenever it says all over print, especially on like shoes or clothing, it means that it's printing like all the way up to the stitching. It's not just like a rectangular print area. It actually prints like all over. A flag is going to be a lot easier to do, of course, but it's a really cool option, especially if you're trying to make a unique brand and you want like shirts or shoes that have all over print. And speaking of shoes, let's see if we can find some shoes. I thought I saw those on here a little bit earlier. There we go, shoes. And I believe we want the men's high top canvas shoes. There we go. So now we can choose our design here. As far as sizes go, I'm gonna just say we only want size, let's just say all sizes actually. And now we can choose our design. All right, so I just made like a crazy pattern on there. I'm gonna put it as the mock-up with some people's feet there. This is gonna take a while for it to actually like create these, I bet, but we're gonna go proceed to details. And again, just whatever you wanna have here. Men's high top canvas shoes, I'm gonna say Santrel Media, this as it is, and submit to store. So we have all of our products ready to go. We're ready to move on to the next step here of actually building out the theme on our website. All right, so if we go back to the Shopify product page, we can refresh this, and now we have all of our products. So we have products. A lot of these are not in collections, and I mentioned that collections are gonna really help when you're making the theme as well. So let's go and click on collections, and from here, let's just say we wanna create a collection. The first one's going to be like summer attire, or let's just say fall collection. And so we can just actually call it Santrel. Now just call it fall collection. And we can add some dummy text in here, just whatever we want. And I mean, obviously you don't want it to be that. You want to flesh it out as something real. And we can say manual. You can automate this. If you have a lot of products and you want all of the t-shirts to be added in here, you can go and automate this. And of course it is using the tags we had earlier. So the tag would be equal to shirt or t-shirt, and that's how you're gonna do that. I'm gonna go back to manual so I can manually add them. You'll see how we're doing that in a second. And we do wanna have an image. So having an image, again, this is where Place It would be super useful. If you go back to Place It, you could have like a photo with multiple people, like this one would be perfect for a fall collection where you have some type of outerwear and you're showing the t-shirts underneath right here, and there's different t-shirts, different people. Like, I think that would look really good. Maybe not this exact one, but you get the idea of where that would be useful for the collection. So I'm just gonna use like a dummy photo right here, not a dummy photo, but just our logo. I'm just gonna throw that in there as the collection image. And the last thing I wanna do is actually change the website SEO. As I said before, I always like having the double bar and then the brand name, Santrel merch. And I'm going to save this. We already have a pretty good URL slug down there, so I'm gonna save it. And now we have our first collection. This is technically our second collection. The first one that we made, though, is ready to go. The one by default was just called Home. Shopify already made that for us, but if we go back to collections, we now have our fall collection with nothing in it. So let's go back to products, and let's just say we want to add the t-shirt, the shoes, and the hoodie all to that collection. So if we go to more actions, we can add to collections, and we can add it to our fall collection, and I'm going to say save, and now all 3 of these are added to that fall collection. So from here, we're all set. Now we can finally get to customizing the theme of our website. So if we go just back up to home, you'll see that little checklist I said in the very beginning was going to be really important to us. We found products, or we made products in this case, and now we're going to customize the theme. After that, we're going to talk about pages, navigation. We already added the domain. I always do that in the beginning just because it really bothers me when it's not the proper domain. And of course, we have to review shipping, but we kind of already did that. So let's go and customize the theme. So customizing the theme, this is going to, first of all, we have a password on here, password protected. So let's disable this password. And that way, when somebody goes to our site, so for example, right now with the password enabled, if we go to santrelmerch.com, santrelmerch.com, you'll see that it says opening soon. We can add an email in there so that you're on a list, so you're notified when it's launched, but it's password protected more or less. So let's go back here and disable the password, click on save, and now our website should be live. So if I go back here and just refresh this or delete the word password and then refresh it, it takes us to our website. But obviously it's not looking good because we didn't do anything yet. Right now it just shows our products, and that's just about it. We're gonna actually choose a theme right now and really set this up to be a beautiful looking website. So let's go back to where we were. If we go on the left side, go down to sales channels, online store, go to themes, and from here, don't click customize. That's gonna customize the theme that it already came with. Instead, we wanna go down here and explore some themes from the Shopify theme store. Now you can just check free ones right now, or you can check the entire store. And within the store, you can filter out the free ones if you want. So that's usually what I would recommend doing anyway. So let's go down here and see what kind of themes we actually have. So we're selling stuff. Obviously, everything on here is for sale, or we're selling ones. But some of them are a little more expensive. Some of them are like $280 for a theme, but it might be a really nice looking theme. Alternatively, some of them might not be. So if we just go to all themes, you can see literally everything right here, the free, the paid, the full layout. This is how I like to look at it. So as far as industry goes, let's go down and find some that I think would be most related. Clothing, that's exactly what we're selling. So out of these, this one looks really nice, first of all, but let's see if there's any free ones within here. So if we go free clothing ones, it looks like we already have a bunch of pretty decent ones down here. And you can view them. A lot of them have like multiple styles of them. So 2 styles, 3 styles, but most of them are showing up here already. So let's go and see which one looks like the best one for our brand. So I'm gonna say this Brooklyn one, I think looks pretty decent. We can view the demo site right here. And when you're on the website, it shows, first of all, like a bit of a slideshow right up top. You can go down and see the featured collections. They get bigger when you hover over them. Down here, you can see some of the products. I think this looks really good. This looks really professional. And the fact that we could just slide our photos into here and our products into here and instantly have like a really nice, well-made website, I think that's pretty solid, especially for a free theme. So let's go and choose this one right here. We're gonna click on Add Theme. I forgot to check mobile. Usually I check both desktop and mobile, but it's gonna look good on mobile. We'll see that in just a second. So we're adding it to our store, and this is where I usually get a lot of questions. People add it, and then they're like, hey, Mike, why is it when I click customize, it's still the old theme? Why doesn't it look like the new theme yet? And the reason is because you actually have to go down here to the theme. It's still installing right now into our theme library, and click on Actions, and click on Publish. This is going to make this your new theme. So it's gonna replace the old one with this new theme. It shows us right there. We're gonna say Publish. That's exactly what we wanna do. And the theme is now published. So if you go up here, the new theme, as I said, is Brooklyn. So if you click on Actions, there's a couple things. You can like rename it or whatever you want, duplicate it, download the theme file in case you're trying to back up your website and stuff like that, or edit the code if you want to add something a little bit more specific. But we're gonna do just the basic, we're gonna customize it. So clicking on Customize brings you into their theme editor. And again, it looks kind of boring at first, but you saw what it looked like with the sample photos before, and we can make it look just as good, if not better than that, once we start adding our own collections in here and really utilizing this editor. So on the right side, this main block, this is all of our website. This is pretty much an interactive version. You can see everything on the website. You can click around and see what it looks like. And whatever you're doing, this is not the editor on the right side. The editing is all done from the left side here and from the top. So I want to start off with the left side and kind of break down what this is actually made of. So this is using a very common layout. Some people call it a strip layout. What they're calling these are actually sections. You can see sections like this is all one section here. That's actually one that you can't change. We'll customize it, but you can't remove it. We've got this section here. We've got the little collections down here. That's another section. We've got the featured collection. That is a section. And each one has a corresponding list on the left side. So corresponding settings to that. So first we have our slideshow. We have rich text, which is this section right here. And let's hit back. And then, of course, down here, the collections as well. So let's start off with the collection list. This is the easiest one to kind of visualize and customize as well. The collections list section, we want to change this and maybe instead put 5 different collections here. So clicking on the left side, first of all, you want to make sure that it's selected and you have the full list of them. And just click on the first one. Okay, so if we click on select collection, we can go and make this first one maybe accessories. And so we can say select. Let's go to the next one, and we're going to select this one as the fall collection, maybe right there. Actually, I want the fall collection to be a different one. So let's choose this one. Let's change this to actually hot sellers, and then we'll go back and make the next one and click back. So now we have all of them right here. They're popping up. When you hover over them, you can click on it. It'll navigate you over to that collection, which is really nice. And if we go to like hot sellers, for example, it'll show us the ones that I put in there. This is not actually dynamic. So I chose the hottest sellers, which are the ones that I would predict would be the best sellers on there, being the hat, the hoodie, and of course the t-shirt. But we can actually change this a little bit. So on the left side, you'll see again, we have the 3 things. We've got our header up there. I'm not going to customize that right now. We've got our footer and we have our collection pages. And so within here, you can choose if you want grid style or collage. So grid is just going to look a little bit simpler. I think collage looks pretty nice. And then we can also show the product vendor if we wanted, but I'm just going to leave it just like that. I think it looks pretty clean as it is with the theme that we chose here. So let's actually go back to where we were, not by canceling. Let's go up there and click on our logo, and it'll take us back to the home page. So now we have the collections list down here. It's all ready to go. We could add collections there if we wanted to, or you could get rid of them. If you didn't have 5, say instead you had 4, we could just go and click on the little eye icon and that'll get rid of it, or at least it'll hide it. Or of course we could click on that and show it again. And you can rearrange them. So if you wanted this one to be over here, you could just click on the 6 dots and slide it up or down, and that is going to swap whichever one, and it's essentially going to slide it back and forth. I'm going to put it where it was. I think this looks pretty good. That's a good first collections list. So let's close this little stack right here and go back up to rich text. Now, rich text, this is something that this high up in the website, I think is kind of a waste of space. I don't really like it there. It's nice to have some kind of separation, but maybe I'd want to get rid of this. Now, of course, this is, before we get rid of it, I want to show you, we've got a heading on here so you can add some basic stuff. So we could just say like about us or our mission. Our story, let's do that, our story, and we can just have like a little story thing right there about us, make it slightly longer, and there you go, you have your story right there. Maybe that would be the way to do that, but again, I don't know if I really like that there, so I'm just going to hide it by clicking the little eye icon as well. Then going down here, so we've got the banners, we'll talk about that in a second. We have our collection list, and then below that we have our featured collection. So the featured collection is just going to showcase whatever products are in your favorite collection. So I'm going to say selecting, let's just do, I think the hot sellers would probably be a good one, showing our featured collection, our favorite products that we want to showcase on the home page. And I'm going to say select. And being that I think this is probably going to be our best seller by far, I would probably even put this above the collection list. I think people are more interested in this than they are the other collections. So let's click on this and slide it up above here. And now we have that rearranged. We now have the banner on the top. We've got our featured collection with our favorite products, and then we've got other collections down below. Below that, we have an example product, so maybe one product that really sells well, so a featured product. And so this, we can actually select the product. Let's say out of all of our products, I really like the t-shirt, or I really like the hoodie. I think the hoodie is probably going to be our best seller. It shows the price. People can literally just buy it directly from here, and so we can say select. So I mean, you've seen it's only been a couple clicks of the mouse, and we already have a pretty filled out website, at least on the home page. That's why I was saying before, it's really important to build out your products and build out your collections so that when you actually customize the website, it's super easy to do. Now, all you have to do is the top section and maybe rearrange these a little bit if we want vertically. So again, I think it looks like a lot of gridding up at the top. So maybe what I would do is I want to move the featured product a little bit higher. So I want to say featured product can go right here. So now we have, actually that was a little bit too high. I want featured collection above that. So we've got our featured collection, our favorite products. We have our one favorite product, and then below that, a couple other collections, followed by a subscription to our newsletter. We'll talk more about email marketing later on, but that's a really good start there. There are other sections you can add as well. So you can add a map on there showing your physical location. That's not something that, we don't have a physical location. We can have a slideshow on here if you want to have maybe some more photos of models wearing your clothing. Again, you could either use, I know I keep saying this, but you could use Place It, or what I really recommend doing is actually getting the physical products, buy some samples of them, and then test them out. Plus, it's cool to have your own products anyway and actually get to wear them and wear them around. But you can see right here, we can put blog posts down here. We'll talk about blogs in just a second as well. But overall, I think this is a really good start to the homepage. So let's actually go back to here, go to the header, or not the header, sorry. Let's go to the slides, and we need to make 2 slides for the top. You can make more if you want, or you could just have one up there. I'm just gonna choose one photo for the first slide. So you click on slide, I'm gonna select an image. And again, realistically, you'd wanna have like all your products set out on a table, very aesthetically or something like that. I'm just gonna choose, whatever image I have right now. So let's just select like a random portrait of me and just pretend I was wearing like the clothes that we want to talk about. And let's have the position of, let's click on this so we can actually see what we're working on. Let's choose the position of this to be exactly like it is, or maybe we can move it a little bit. We can reposition the image just a bit. We can change the overlay capacity so we can have it a little bit more opaque or a little bit less opaque. And again, it's really annoying. I have to keep switching back and forth. So let's keep it right around maybe 33%, I think would look pretty good right there. And then as far as the text goes, we're going to have to make it left aligned here so it shows up reasonably well. So you can see right there, an introductory hero banner is what it's called. And so we're going to be like Santrel merchandise is what it's going to be. So let's change the text to so we can change it to premium quality Santrel. And then of course we can have a button down here, just say shop now, but it's not showing up because we don't have a link on there. So I'm gonna go and link it to maybe a collection, and the collection could just be maybe a homepage, homepage. I'm gonna say, instead we wanna link it to, the fall collection. So that way when somebody clicks on this, they'll be able to shop and go to the collection. But the button, I don't like the color of that. We obviously need to make that I think a white button with some dark text would look really good. So make a white button. With some text that is a lot darker. So we'll say the text and icons can be black. The button label could also be black. So let's go back and see what that looks like. Actually, text and icons, that was above. That's this text. There we go. And so now we're ready to go. So that's the first block. Again, really not good. You want a better photo where everything's like over to one side. It would just look so much nicer. But this is just a photo I have on my laptop, and just for demonstrative purposes, that's what we're gonna do. Now the next slide, again, this is cycling through these. Let's select another image. All right, so now we have our next image, and let's change the text on here. Let's make it a little bit less of an overlay opacity. I kind of like it when it's white. Actually, if we bring it down to 0, I think we'll be able to see the text if we just make the text slightly darker. And here we could say that this is going to be fall collection. Or we're gonna say, fall collection, whatever. Learn about or shop. We could say shop the fall collection, and we could say view the collection, and we can have this link over to our fall collection right there. And of course, we want to change this text to probably black. It might be a little bit more readable. And now we have everything ready to go with this one. Obviously, completely different style, and you want to have the right photos. This is really the tough part where you want to have great photos for your banners because this is such an important part of your website. But, all things considered, this looks reasonable enough. And of course, I should have mentioned this before, always save your work as frequently as possible. You do have some, you never know what's going to happen. You don't want it to accidentally, crash, your computer dies, whatever, and you lose all of your work. The last thing I want to show while we're still on this page is actually up on the top right. If you click on the desktop icon, it looks like an iMac. You can go and check out mobile instead and see how everything looks there. So for the most part, I would expect everything will still look really, really good, with the exception of possibly the banner on the top. You want to make sure, like this right here, the word fall and fall collection in general is really tough to read. So you want to choose a different photo that doesn't have that problem, doesn't have that issue. But for now, I'm just gonna stick with this because you guys get the idea of how to actually utilize these settings. Now we can customize the header. If you click on header, we don't have a logo right there, so let's select a logo. I'm just gonna upload the same logo we've been using, the Santrel logo. Of course, right now it is just using text, which works fine, and it is easier to read when you have darker backgrounds, but I'm gonna select this logo for now and leave it like that. Now the logo, we can change the width of it. There we go. And we can have a transparent header or non-transparent header. Obviously with this, with a darker color text on the logo, we don't want a transparent header, so you can actually read it and it doesn't interfere with that photo there. Now, transparent headers look pretty nice, a little bit more of a modern spin on the website, but it is what it is, and I think in this situation, it's gonna look better just like that. And then down here, we have our menus. So right now, it's using just the main menu right here. And so the main menu is something that we can change. We can choose what's gonna be shown up there, so it's not just home, catalog, contact. But I want to come back to that a little bit later once we start having some policies and another page to tell like about us or our story or something like that. The secondary sidebar menu, the footer menu, we don't really have to worry too much about that right now. And I don't want to enable search, so I'm going to leave that unselected. And I don't know, I don't really think search is that necessary on a lot of websites, especially smaller ones like this, if you have it well laid out. So the other thing you'll see right here, announce something here. We can show or hide that announcement. It looks a little cleaner if you don't have the announcement, but the announcement is something that maybe you want to have and you want to change it every now and then. So you could say, get 10% off with code Mike. And so we just want to have that on the top so people know they can get 10% off. It's a little bit more of an encouragement to buy the product, but we actually have to make that right now. So a couple of things on our list. We want to make a discount code, the code Mike, to get 10% off, and we want to make some new menu items such as policies and an About Us page. So let's click on Save, and let's work through those one at a time. Let's start off with the coupons, and the way to do that is to actually exit right here. On the left side, go down to Discounts, and we want to create a discount code. Now there are two different codes. You can have discount codes, just regular ones, or automatic discounts. Automatic discounts, essentially, well, they're gonna automatically apply to a customer's cart. So that's a nice thing if you have some kind of sale, like a buy one, get one, or something like that. But I'm just gonna do a regular discount code, kind of encouraging some purchases here, and we're going to create the discount code. So we're gonna make the code Mike, and this could be a percentage, which we're gonna do 10% off. It could be a fixed dollar amount off. It could be free shipping. We wanna probably do free shipping anyway. And it could be like buy one, get one, or something like that, buy two, get one. And so we're gonna stick with percentage. We're gonna say 10% off, and this applies to all products. We don't need to have a minimum requirement. This is something that I usually only apply if it's a fixed amount, like get $10 off and it's a $10 purchase. Like you don't want that. You might say $10 off when you spend more than $50 or something like that. And you could limit the number of times it's used per customer or in total. So if you say like, hey, this is first 100 people to use this, we'll get 10% off, and that's something that you're doing on social media, then that's how you would go about doing that. Additionally, you can have a start and an end date. I'm just gonna have this one run indefinitely, and I'm going to save the discount code. So now we have one discount ready to go. If we just click on discounts, you'll see that one is active, it's running. When we're done with it, we can always go and deactivate it by deleting the discount code. So I'm not gonna do that right now. We'll leave it active right now, or we could disable in the top right as well. And so right now we have one discount code active. Okay, so that was the first thing we wanted to do. The second thing we wanted to do is actually add some policies. So your return policy, your privacy policy, all those things like that, very, very important. And of course, depending on where you are, definitely dig into that, find out what your local laws are, what the requirements are for disclaimers and things like that, and really work according to your local laws. So going down to settings, we can start off pretty easily just by scrolling down to policies. And policies, one thing I really like that Shopify does is they have templates built in. Of course, you want to read the templates because you are defining how you operate as a business, but it gives you a huge jump start just to say create from template, and there's our refund policy ready to go. Same thing with the privacy policy. Same thing down here with the terms of service. So again, just populating these is so easy to do. And of course, shipping, they don't actually have a template for that one, but I'm gonna say save. And you wanna have your shipping policy as well. Maybe find a template elsewhere or write it up on your own. Now we have our store policies ready to go. So those two things were super quick to bang out. And next thing I wanted to talk about, so let's just close out of this. The next thing was changing the menus on the store. So I talked about how we had that one menu up on the header. We might want to add some other items. Now, besides policies, the other one I believe I said was another page that would be maybe about us or something like that. So if we go back to online store, we can go down to pages. And right now we only have one other page, which is a contact page. I haven't edited the contact page yet, so who knows what that's going to look like. But let's create a new page. So we're going to click on add page. This one's going to be our story. And from here, we could just paste maybe some dummy text for now. So this would be like our story. We'd maybe have some pictures in here. So maybe I'm going to add a picture right there. The image is going to be maybe this picture of me. And we want to add some alt text. Alt text is essentially going to be how you, like what you're telling Google the photo is. So you could say founder of our clothing brand. If it's a photo of you, for example, we can insert the image, and now it's inserted into essentially into the page. And it's a really bare bones editor here. You'll see that you can change a little bit about it. You can change, for example, like if you want it to be a header or something like that. So we could say a little bit down here, like if you want another section. So we're gonna have our title, which is gonna say our story, a little paragraph, an image, and then below that, we wanna say maybe like how it started. And so we could have how it started. We don't want that to just be paragraph font text. Instead, we want that to be maybe a H2, a heading 2. And then we can go down here, have some more stuff down there, more paragraphs. And then maybe below that, we want to have like our mission maybe. So our mission, and then below here, another paragraph. And our mission, again, could be a secondary header, an H2. So we'll do that. And so you get the idea of how you're really going to be building this out. So let's go and say this is the website SEO. Let's save it. Now we have the Our Story page ready to go. So we can view the page by clicking View Page. And again, one thing, like kind of one of the shortcomings of Shopify is that it's not the most robust for making secondary pages, but you know, it gets the job done. And for the most part, people can look at this and say like, oh, that's what your website or that's what your brand is really all about. So going back to where we were, let's close this out. We have everything we need to make the new menu. So going back, let's click on Home. So let's click on Online Store. Let's click on Navigation now. And so we have the two menus. We have the footer menu, which I don't want. That was the one that was just search. That was a little search icon that we don't need there. And we have the main menu. Now I want to make another menu here. So we're going to click on Add Menu. And this menu is just going to be, let's call it Top Menu. This is going to be the one that I'm actually going to start using. And we're going to click Add Menu Item. So the first one could be About Us. And like I said, that's going to be our story. So if we go down to Pages, you'll see the Our Story page is available. I'm going to add this one, and we can rearrange these in a second, which one's on the top and where they actually go. We could say hoodie, or we could say best sellers, and this could be a collection. This could be our hot sellers collection. Let's go and add that. And then we can add another item. Maybe this is going to be home. Even though you can click on the logo on the top and go home, sometimes it's nice just to have a home icon there so people know how to get there. And then last one, let's just say policies, let's just say policies, just so people can find it very easily and go down and click on policies. And for this one, we're going to say, actually, we're going to have to choose one at a time. So let's just say terms of service. And so we're going to say, let's just say policy. Let's just say refund policy, and I'm going to call this one refund policy actually. So we'll say add, and now, like I said, you want to rearrange these a little bit. So I'm going to put home up here. So home, I'm going to have the second one as best sellers, and I'm going to have about us as the last one, kind of sandwiching refund policy together there. Obviously, you don't want people to refund, but it's something that you do want them to actually be aware of. So we're going to save this menu, and this is the one that we want to have across the top bar. So if we go back up to Online Store and we click on Customize, here you can see that if we go back to the header on the left side, click on Header, and we can go and adjust what the menu actually is. So the first menu is set as Main Menu, which is up here. I obviously don't want that one, so we're going to change it out. We're going to change the menu and instead use Top Menu as this one. And you can see all the stuff is all across there, so we're going to say select that. I like that one way better. And then down here we have Footer Menu, which is right now I think it just says Search on there. I really don't want that. It just says Search. I don't really need that, so instead I'm going to change that one to what there was before, which was the main menu. And so when someone goes to the bottom, they should be able to see a couple other items besides just what we have on the top. So with two different menus to kind of navigate around the site, I think that's a little bit more useful. And we could say announcement bar is on the home page only. Yes, everything looks good. Let's save it. We're ready to go. And now our first page, our homepage really looks pretty good. So let's actually go and view our website. If we go in a new tab and go to santrelmerch.com, you'll see here's our full website. So if somebody clicks on shop now, and I recommend clicking on all your buttons and making sure everything works, it'll take you to this collection. There's a little bit of text there. You can see all the different products. People can go and check out like the hoodie, for example. And again, if they like this, they can see other photos or similar products down here. They can see, we only have one photo for this one. They can check out medium, large, and they can say buy it now, or they could add it to the cart. That way it'll take them to the checkout page. It's going to ask for their information and stuff like that. So let's actually abort this right now. Let's go back to where we were and check out other parts of the site. So scrolling down, you can see we've got our collections on the top, or we can go through our two things, our fall collection, view the collections. I think the website looks pretty decent right now. Okay, so let's make sure we saved everything. Let's exit this. And there's some really important settings that we need to set up now. But let's go back to home, and you'll see on the bottom here, or in the middle of the home page, the other things we want to do. So we have products, we have a theme that's customized, we have our domain. We want to add some pages. I already did add one page. That was our story. But let's go down and set up payments right now. So if we set up Shopify payments, there's a bunch of ways you can accept payments on here. PayPal, after your first sale, PayPal will email you instructions, and you'll be able to accept payments with PayPal. That is going to be a really popular way that people like to pay. Of course, Amazon Pay is a really big one. You want to activate that, and really just clicking through these, it's just going to ask for information about you. Shopify payments does have a fee, 2.9% plus 30 cents per sale, so it can add up a little bit, but remember, that was the one thing that can change a lot with what plan you actually chose. So 2.9% right now. I believe it's 2.6% if you have a more premium plan, and eventually they don't even charge for that with the higher plans. So let's go and complete account setup. And so from here, they're going to ask for like what your business type is, your business details, your personal details, product details as well. So like what kind of products you're selling, and of course the customer billing statement as well. So how it's going to show up in like their credit card statement, for example. So I'm just going to say Santrel merch would be just fine. Let's get rid of that. Santrel-merch. So that's going to be great. So when people check their credit card statement and they're like, what is this thing that just says like Shopify or something? Like, you want to make sure that it is your brand so they don't dispute charges that they legitimately did try to pay with, right? Like, you don't want people getting confused and accidentally disputing charges. So I'm actually not going to fill this out right now because, again, this is not a real store, so I'm not actually gonna do that right now. But let's click on back, or actually click on the X up here. And so that's how you actually go about setting up your payments. The next thing I want to talk about is actually setting up your sales channels. Now, if we click on set up sales channels, this is what, this wouldn't be there in the beginning if in the beginning we selected, remember the first little onboarding questionnaire we had and asked where we wanted to sell, and I said everywhere. I wanted a buy button, I wanted Google, I wanted Facebook, I wanted everything there. You don't need all of those though. You could sell just on your store and just have it already set up like it is. But if you want to sell through Facebook or sell through Google Shopping, or just have a buy button for like a point of sale type thing, this is going to be how you'd actually go and set those up. So we can add other sales channels right now. If we want to add, for example, maybe like point of sale would be if you have a little market, maybe you sell things online, but you want to have a market as well. And in this market, like a real physical in-person market, you are selling things and you want to track inventory. And on top of that, you also want to track, or you want credit card payments. That's how you'd add that. Being that this is print on demand, that doesn't really make sense to do that. eBay does make sense, but again, you want to keep in mind the shipping times and things like that and your eBay ratings. But you can go down here and add whichever ones you want. If you want to add Pinterest and sell things through Pinterest, that's a great way to I don't know. A lot more people use Pinterest than you might realize. I thought nobody used it, but it turns out like my mom and tons of other people are using Pinterest all the time. So if we just go to, for example, Facebook, we can click on that and it is going to have us, it's going to redirect us over to here and ask if we actually want to set it up. So I'm going to say update sales channels. So we're ready to go with Facebook. And now it's going to have us, it's going to kind of walk us through some of the setup with Instagram shopping. This is going to be a really, really big one, especially, I don't know. I think Instagram shopping has become huge in the past couple of years. I've seen so many products sold. I have so many friends that just browse Instagram and end up buying a ton of stuff like wallets and clothing and pretty much everything they have. A lot of their kind of random purchases come from Instagram. So that's why I would probably say that's the first one I would recommend setting up. And so, of course, this is going to walk you through everything. You need to have a Facebook business page, and it's going to walk you through everything step by step. So the next thing we want to do is actually go and set up our Facebook business page. Now, I know this might sound like maybe you don't want to use Facebook for this, maybe you think it's a little antiquated, depending on your market niche. That might be true, but Facebook's still a really good on-ramp to the Meta Business Suite. We'll show you that in a second because it allows you, again, a really easy way to get set up. You can make your business profile, and then you can make a business page on Instagram, as well as other Facebook platforms as well. So let's start off with the Facebook business page. First, you want to sign into your Facebook account on just facebook.com. I know a lot of people want to make a separate business account, but the way Facebook is set up with their terms of service, you can really only have one personal account or one account per person, and you can make a business page, but it's going to still somehow be tied back to your personal account. So that, again, just sign into your personal account. We're going to separate this as best we can later on. I'll show you how to do that. But let's start off by clicking on the little grid icon, the menu on the top right, and you'll see down here we can create a new page. So click on page, and we're going to add a couple things here, starting off with the page name. So I'm going to call this Santrel Merch. We need a category, and so here I'm just going to choose maybe clothing would be a good one, a clothing brand. You can add up to 3, so maybe we'd have like apparel would be another one, apparel and clothing, whatever, and maybe one other one, clothing company, men's clothing store, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. You really only need one. Now it's going to ask for a description. I'm just going to put in some Latin dummy text there. We're going to click on create the page. Right now, I must have used this before, so we're going to click on create the page, and it's going to ask us to then add a picture for the profile as well as for the wallpaper. And you can see on the right side this entire time as we're building this, we're going to see what it's actually going to look like on desktop as well as on mobile. So going back to desktop, on the left side you can see we have the images. It's now going to ask for our profile picture. So I'm just going to upload my profile picture for Santrel. So we're going to say this one right here, basic, just the logo that we're using. And then it's going to ask for a cover photo. And this one, I don't actually have a good cover photo, so I'm going to use one from a previous video. I made like a coffee shop video before, just a wider photo. You need like a really long one, but this is where it really would be beneficial to essentially have your products, like I said, and take pictures with your products, maybe a bunch of people wearing your different shirts, your different clothes, your apparel, whatever it might be. Just kind of show your entire library of products in one single photo. And so especially if, as you are the founder, like I would recommend having you in the picture if you can. I think having a founder that is really tied into their brand can really strengthen the story, in my opinion, and make people more interested in your story, in your brand, and more likely to buy, of course. So we're going to click on save. Hopefully that picture is big enough. It looks like it probably is. And there we go. So now we have everything set up. Now, the next thing we want to do, right here you can say, it says create username. This is something that sometimes Facebook lets you do it right away. Sometimes you have to get like 100 likes on your page before they let you do that. I'm going to click on create username. Hopefully they let me do it right now. And I'm going to say Santrel merchandise. And we're going to create the username. It looks like right now they're not letting us. Oh yeah, there we go. So we can say create username. And hopefully this lets us. There we go. So now it's ready to go. So now that's good because that is going to allow us to have a website here. We can say facebook.com/Santrel merchandise. And it's going to take you to this page right here. It's easier to get it more as a shared page. Like you can share it as a link more easily. And additionally, it's easier for people to find it if they can search at Santrel merchandise. They can tag you more easily. Everything about it, having that little name right there, that little handle, I think makes things a lot easier. And I recommend trying to get the same thing here as you can get on Instagram. So really what I should have done before choosing this is I should have gone over to Instagram and confirmed that that handle was available. Of course, you can always change handles if you need to, but still it's nice to set it up right the first time. So now that we have this, the next thing we want to do is actually add a button. So you can see the little blue icon here, add a button. This is going to be your call to action. Remember, when people come to your Facebook business page, you want them to do one thing. And you want them to either schedule bookings if you're like a hairdresser or something like that. Or in our case, we want them to go over and buy our products. So I'm going to add a button. And the button we have, let's see what buttons we have available. So we're gonna go down here and say shop on website. That's exactly what we want. So we're gonna paste Santrel merch right there. And actually, instead of just going to our home page, if somebody's here and they decide they really like what we're selling, you could send them to your homepage, or you could send them to maybe your top sellers, your hot sellers page. And so that's what I think I would rather do right here, just because you have a better chance. Somebody's already invested in your brand. They're already interested enough to click the button. Maybe you want them to be a little bit closer to the checkout page by sending them right over to your best products that you have. So I'm going to save that right now, and that's going to be the button. Of course, I always recommend, sometimes you can mess up when you're copying a link or something. When you click on edit shop button, you can go down here and say test button. So I highly recommend testing it. Sure enough, it works. It looks like right now it's actually only taking us over to our home page. So that's not exactly what I wanted. So I might want to go back and make sure that I actually pasted it in correctly. So going down here, you can see we have some other things. Of course, manage your page and Instagram together with Meta Business Suite. We are going to do that in a little bit. But let's go down here and make sure that we have everything figured out and really completed within the Facebook business page. So right on the top left, you can see that they're kind of recommending a couple things right here. They're recommending that we go down and add a profile picture. We already did that. We can go down here and provide information. So like what your website is, what your location is, your business hours, things like that. I think that we definitely should be doing all of that as soon as possible. So the little about window in here, the little info knowledge panel is essentially going to be as fleshed out as possible. So let's go and add our website. We're going to click on that. And our website, this time I'm going to just make it santrelmerch.com. So santrelmerch.com. Let's get rid of everything after that. And we can save that. That's all good to go. So I can just close out of this. Close out of that. Now we have a website. Location info, we can click on this and we can say that we don't have a location, so that's not going to be a problem. And so we can close out of that. That way it's not going to say like, oh, we don't know what the location is, because we do. It's online, so they're not going to actually ever visit. As far as the hours go, we can go and say that this is always open, 24 hours a day. And before you laugh and say, like, why would a website ever be closed? Some websites are closed certain times. Like, that's not, I mean, maybe for religious reasons or something like that. There are sites that are closed on, like, Sundays or whatever. So, always open. I'm going to say that so people know. And we can go down here and otherwise, we can link WhatsApp. I'm not going to do that right now. I don't have a phone number right now with this. If you obviously have help or customer support, you might want to set up a phone. But otherwise, I think that we're set up for this step here. And then down here, we can invite 10 more friends to like the page. That might be a good way to kind of bootstrap or really accelerate your page a little bit more, get a couple likes on here, and welcome people to your page. So you can create a welcome post. I am going to do that right now. You don't want to have no posts on here, even if you don't plan on using Facebook in the future, which I recommend still using your Facebook business page. But even if you didn't, it's always important to have at least a couple posts, some paragraphs, a welcome page, just to tell people what it is and make sure that they know you're still in business and like what's going on. So I'm just going to paste some Latin dummy text here. There we go. And I'm going to post that. Generally, it's better if you post with a picture as well, but I'm just going to leave it just like that. When you look at this page, you might notice something's off. We don't have events. We don't really care about photos and things like that. So what we can do is click on more and go down to edit tabs, because a lot of these tabs might be completely irrelevant. You might not need to use any of these, or there's some that you really do want to use. So I think shop is a good one. Let's keep shop up near the top. We don't have events, so I'm not going to have events right now. Reviews, we can leave reviews on there if you want people to do that, but it's less likely somebody's going to review your clothing brand when they order online. Like, reviews is going to be more so for restaurants and things like that, so I'm going to disable reviews. Offers might make sense if you have some kind of discounts, but you really want to make sure you're keeping up with that. It's something I don't think I'm going to be very good at doing, so I'm going to turn that off. We're going to turn groups off. Community videos about, that's all going to be there. And then job openings. Again, I don't plan on having that in the beginning, so we're going to turn that off as well. So it's a little bit simpler now. We kind of got rid of a couple of those, but it did bring us into this page settings interface, by the way, which I'm going to go through these on the left side because there are quite a few other very important things that you want to make sure are configured. So if we go up to general, you have a lot of things here. I'm not going to go through all of these, but I want to make sure that you know where it is and you read through all of them to make sure you understand what's going on. So for example, post and story settings, you can have that posting to stories is always on. So for example, right here, the profanity filter is turned off. Maybe that's something that you really, you want to make sure you don't have to moderate that much. So you can turn the profanity filter on. So I'm going to save the changes. Now we have profanity filter is turned on. That way people are not going to leave hateful comments or mean comments that might offend other potential customers on your page. So that's just one of the things you might want to go through and read all of this and really figure out what matters to you. We can go down to messaging. I'm not going to set this up just yet, but this would be a great way to set up, for example, a greeting. So when people get to your page or they start messaging you, you can have a greeting that says, hey, this is Mike. Thanks for getting in touch with Santrel Merchandise. We'll be happy to help you. What questions do you have? I usually reply within 1 to 2 days. It's a good way to make them feel like they're actually being greeted at the door of a store kind of. It's a nice feature to have that I usually enable on most of my Facebook business pages. And of course, there are some more automations as well. So once somebody says something, you can have automated responses, say like, hey, thanks for your request. We're going to contact you later. Or you could say like, hey, unfortunately, we're away from this right now. Send us an email. email. And that'd be more of a greeting. I would recommend that. But regardless, the messaging is something that I recommend setting up. And I did talk about that a little bit more in detail in my full tutorial on how to make a Facebook business page. I'll have that linked in the description below. Continuing on with this tutorial, page info, we already really did a lot of that already. There's not much more I want to add on here. We can look at our price range. So I'm going to say right now we're like moderately, maybe a little bit expensive on our price. That way people know when they see that. And we can go down to templates and tabs. We already edited the tabs, so that's not going to be a problem. We don't have to worry about ticketing, notifications, advanced messaging. There's some more stuff on here that you really should be reading through, but then we can get down to Instagram. So Instagram right now, we don't have an Instagram account connected to this. So what we can do now is actually open up our phone and make an Instagram account and then connect it to this. That's really going to be the next step here so that we can have everything really tied together. Right, now we opened up Instagram, we're gonna click on sign up and we're going to sign up with email. I'm gonna use the email that I used earlier. Now we're gonna add a name and a password. And now it's gonna want to create a username. Here, again, remember what we had earlier on the Facebook business page was Santrel merchandise. So we're gonna say Santrel merchandise, we're gonna say next, that one is available. And now we can sign up, and of course, like it says there, we can always change the username later if you decide you wanted something shorter, maybe Santrel merch or just Santrel or something like that. So Santrel merchandise is what I'm starting with, and now it wants to know if we're going to connect to Facebook. I'm going to skip this for now. It's not really that important. That's just so you can find other friends. So I'm going to say skip because this is really treating it as if it was a personal Instagram, which we are not doing right now. So we're going to add a photo. So we're going to add a photo. We're going to just take a photo. I'm just going to use a photo from maybe this hat right here. There we go. So we now have a photo. We're going to say okay. And we don't want to post that. We'll post it as a photo. That's fine as well. And so now we're going to say next. So now there we go. We have our Instagram pretty much all set up now. We have a name, a handle, and of course right there it says name Mike O'Brien. I actually do want to change that. I should not have said Mike O'Brien as my personal name earlier. Instead, we want to call this Santrel merchandise. So that is going to be Santrel merch. Santrel merch. We're going to say okay. And we'll say okay again. Now, something else to note is that we can actually add quite a few other things below in our little bio as well as a website. So I'm going to click on edit profile. You want to make sure that you have a website there. That's obviously incredibly important here as well. So we're going to say HTTPS, and we're going to have the little colon / and santrelmerch.com. Santrelmerch.com. We're going to say okay. We're all set. And of course, we can always add our bio as well. So if we want to go to bio, we can say we sell amazing clothing with lots of style. And we can add other little emojis down here. So we want to have like clothing. Maybe we sell like t-shirts. Maybe we want to add like, I don't know, pants and hats and stuff like that. Whatever you want. Just some different little emojis down there. And I mean, you can beef that out however you want. Everybody has their own style, their own flavor of what they want on their account. And then down here you can see switch to professional account. And that's exactly what we want to do next, which is going to allow you to make this as an Instagram business page, which shows you more analytics and more things on the back end than you'd otherwise see from a personal account. So as you can see here, we're getting professional tools. And of course, these are things like analytics. You can learn about who's following you. You're able to promote posts if you're trying to run ads. You really obviously need to have a professional account to run ads. And we can see, of course, we have other new contact options where people can email us or call us or do other things by having a button right on there. So it's going to ask what essentially describes us, and we're going to be a clothing brand. So I'm going to have that, yes, displayed on the profile so people know what Santrel merch is. We're going to say done, and it can take up to 30 seconds for this to actually finish. And now it's going to ask if we're a business or a creator. It's really not a big difference here, and you can always switch between these later. I'm going to say business for now because creator is really going to focus a little bit more on DMs and kind of organize them slightly differently. And now it's going to ask us to review our contact information. That looks fine. We can display the email on there. That sounds good to me. We're going to say next. I'm going to skip the phone number and the address for now because that doesn't really affect the business for what I'm saying. And now we're going to actually log into Facebook to connect to Facebook. So a Facebook business page can actually be connected here. This is very important. I'm going to do that right now. So we're going to go and sign into our Facebook account. So once we say continue, it's going to say to enable connected experiences, add your account to the accounts center. So that's exactly what we want to do. We're going to say okay. and we're going to add Santrel merchandise. It's going to allow us to add it to the account center, which, as you can see here, is going to, also use the information to improve in experiences across whatever. Facebook's asking if they can have a little bit of data from you. We're going to say, okay, we're going to add that. You could also say not now, but we are trying to integrate everything, so doing that now makes the most sense. Now it's going to ask which Facebook business page we want to connect to. I've made a couple in the past, as you can see, for different tutorials, but we're going to go down here and say Santrel merchandise right there, and make sure no other ones are selected. We're going to say next, and that is automatically going to connect to the Facebook business page that we just created. So I'm going to wait probably a couple seconds until it actually connects it, and then we'll be essentially ready to go. Now it's going to say step 1 of 5 is complete, and this is going to be setting up your professional account. We can do this a little bit more on our desktop, but as you can see right here, the 5 steps are showing you really are basically going to be like grow your audience. It's going to ask you to like invite friends and stuff like that. We're not going to do that right now. We can learn from professionals. They're going to show you some little tutorials. Hopefully you don't need that, and some other things as well. But right now, we're pretty much ready to go on the Instagram front. I'm not going to do anything else there right now, so we can actually close this, and we're ready to go back to our laptop. So what we want to do is actually go to business.facebook.com, and I've been using this a lot for quite a few other things, so it might look slightly different for you. But essentially, we want to make sure that we have a Meta business suite, so a business account here, and then everything's tied in through that. So right now you can see it's going to show the most recent stuff up here, which is going to be the Santrel merchandise Facebook page as well as the Instagram page. We just made both of those, and they are already tied together. So you can create a post and send it out to both of them, which is very convenient. You can create a story and send it out to both. You can create an ad and send it out to both. Or if you don't already have this, and mine kind of automatically did this, but on the left side, you have a whole bunch of different business accounts. Those are the ones that I've used before. But you can go down to the bottom and say create a business account. Now, I've reached the limit for mine because I've just made so many different tutorials, but you can go and create a business account, and that's going to be essentially, this one's already bundled into I believe Santrel merch on the top. So we do have a business account, but if you don't, you can click on that. You're going to add your name, your first name, your last name, your email, and it's going to ask you to choose the assets you want within that business. Make sure with the little check boxes you select both the Instagram and the Facebook page so that they are both within that business. But you can go into that business, and this is where you can actually change a lot of things. You can get your ad account, so you can go to ad account settings. Everything's going to be tied in through that. You can get your Facebook pixel set up with this, and everything is really going to be operated through the Facebook Meta business account. So this is a little bit more advanced for this video. I can actually make a full tutorial on how to use Facebook ads in the future if you guys want to see those, whether that is for Instagram or Facebook or anything else that they're using in their network. But in general, this is going to be how you get started, and then going to ad account settings. It'll really walk you through a lot of the next steps so you can add a payment method and you can really start to set up those ads. But ad campaigns, like I said, are a story for another day. You can watch that full tutorial after this one. So that's our Facebook business page and our Instagram page. That's going to be great for marketing, but it can also connect through Facebook, as you can see on the bottom left here, where you have all these different options through whether that is connecting the messages on here, like I showed you in the greeting, for example, on Facebook messages or Messenger. That's going to show up here, so you can actually go and continue setup. And all of these really walk you through it. You just go and sign into your account, and everything is going to be pretty easily set up. But you could sell your products through Facebook, sell your Instagram, sell products through Instagram, create ads, and of course manage the conversations. Those are really the 4 big things you'd want to do with the Facebook or the Meta platform now. And so all of those you can find down here on the left side in sales channels. If it's not showing up, you can click on the little plus and make sure that Facebook is selected as a sales channel. Right now we obviously have it, so it's already there. Now you can actually switch between your sales channels on the left side from sales channels right here. Of course, the online store has been the one we've been customizing this entire tutorial. We have a buy button, and this is something you can embed in a blog, for example. So if you have another website, as you can see, obviously blogging is not really the strong suit of Shopify. Like Shopify is great for selling, but sometimes it's easier just to make a WordPress site and have a massive library of blogs, rank better in Google there, and then just have a little buy button embedded in there. So if you want to create a buy button, you can have a product buy button. Let's just go about doing that right now really quickly. And so if we want to have like the Plant Friends one, we can select that. It's going to be ready to go. We can mark it as, let's mark it as available. And so now this is what the buy button would do. It essentially bring up this little page right here that shows you like the product. You can choose the price, you can choose the size, you can add it to cart. And once you like that, and I don't really see a whole lot that I want to change about this, it's just a simple little buy button. I'm going to click on next, And then you have to copy this code and paste it over on WordPress or Squarespace or Wix, whatever you might be using. And so depending on which platform you're using, there's going to be a different place you actually want to paste that. But that's the code that you'll actually be looking for right there to have that buy button embedded that points over to this store. So I'm going to click copy code. And now I'm going to exit. So now we have online store and buy button set up. Like I said, Google and Facebook are two sales channels that are super important, but they take a little bit more time, and I'm gonna make a separate tutorial on how to actually set up a Google store. But there are some other things we need to talk about, some really important things. I'm gonna talk about everything on the left side here. So we're gonna talk about some different marketing strategies as well as different apps you can get, some really big ones that'll help, really help your store succeed. And the second big thing I wanna talk about is actually settings. Now, in the settings, there are tons of things that you really wanna customize to make sure that not only the customers have the best experience, but also you. And then the third thing I wanna do is actually get some demos, some actual products that we are having made from Printful. We wanna actually get some samples in our hands to make sure that the products look as good as we expect them to. So those are the three big things we're gonna talk about for the rest of this video. I wanna start off with what I said on the left side right here. So starting off with home, we already talked about what's up there. We already talked about orders. Orders we don't have any yet, but we said that this is where you'd actually find some order information. We talked a lot about products. We don't care about inventory, transfers. We talked about collections. Gift cards is one that we did not talk about. So gift cards could be something that you might send people maybe on their birthday. You give them like a $15 gift card, or you could give them like a $15 off as a coupon. Either way, gift cards are cool because they're something that you can actually sell on your site and have it listed as something one person can buy and then send by email to a friend so that they can actually get some of your products from your store. And so if we want to add a gift card, we could either issue a gift card, like I said, to send one directly to a customer. This could be maybe as a refund, or this could be like if they're outside of the refund time and you just want to help them out anyway. Or it could be something that maybe you have like some kind of contest and you want to send a gift card to somebody who maybe won your contest on social media. That's how you do that. But we're going to add a gift card product so people can buy it and give it to their friends and family. And so this is going to be Santrel merch gift card. Sounds good. Santrel merch gift card. And paste that in here. We can add some media if we want a little picture for this. So I'm just gonna make the picture like maybe the little houseplants icon we had before. And we can have some different denominations as well, 10, 25, 50, 100. I think that looks fine for this. And the SEO, again, I always like to have the store name, so Santrel merch, even though it's kind of duplicatory there. So actually in this situation, maybe I wouldn't add that just because we don't want the same words twice in the same title. Google might be a little bit weird about that. So we are going to save this gift card. It's not in any collections or anything. It's just ready to go as a standalone product. And I think that's pretty much all we need to know for that. Customers, we don't have any of those yet, but we talked about that. Eventually, you'll see more customers here. You can also import customers or add customers if you somebody bought something in person and you have their information. We've got finances. Actually, by the way, don't add people unless you have their consent, of course. Nobody wants to be signed up on your email list without voluntarily doing that, and that's also not something you're allowed to do. So, finances overview, we talked about this. Analytics, of course, we talked about. Marketing's going to be a big one. Now, there are some big marketing apps that we talked about earlier. I mentioned Mailchimp way early on, and of course, we talked about setting up Facebook and Google, but let's talk about email marketing right now. And this is something we have a full tutorial for really in-depth stuff on how to use Mailchimp, but Mailchimp is a really popular app that so many companies use, so many brands use to actually market their products through emails, which is essentially a free way of marketing. So email is something that everybody has. You don't pay to get it to them. And once you have their email, you can send them like messages, updates about different products, new releases, things like that. Of course, they're able to unsubscribe, but these are people that are already very interested in your product. You don't have to worry about paying per click. You don't have to worry about like Facebook ads and Google ads when you're using email marketing. So it's incredibly powerful. It's something that I think everybody should, at the very least, consider setting up for your store. So if we click on the View More Marketing Apps button right there, you can go down here and see, I believe we should be able to find Mailchimp if we go to, so if we just click on the top, search and type in Mailchimp, we can see Mailchimp right here. So I'm going to click on Mailchimp, and we are going to actually add the app to our store. And then we can actually go and create a new Mailchimp account. And now we can select an audience. Because we didn't actually make one yet, just the basic audience is going to be the default Santrel merch. And I'm going to sync the audience right now. And we are going to continue to overview. Now that we have an account right here set up for Mailchimp, you can open up Mailchimp separately and really do a lot with this, from email campaigns to automated campaigns. When somebody makes a purchase, they can be emailed different things, certain amount of time afterwards, or when they sign up for your newsletter, they can get an email, a welcome letter, they can get one on their birthday that maybe sends them a coupon code, and that's what I talked a lot about in my Mailchimp tutorial. It's something I think is incredibly powerful, and I think when people are, it's their birthday or the day before their birthday, and they get an email that says, happy birthday, and in there it gives them a discount code or some maybe $50 off a purchase of $100, like they're going to be more incentivized to buy themselves a birthday gift from your website. Now, when it comes to email marketing, the next thing I want to do is actually set up Mailchimp. So if we go to santrelmedia.com/Mailchimp, that'll take you to Mailchimp's homepage, as you can see right here, and we can actually sign up for free. Now, Mailchimp's great because it allows you to start off essentially for free, and you can pay as you grow, so that it's very, very scalable from the very beginning. And this is a great way to essentially send out email campaigns, whether that is for people who already shopped on your site and you want to send them more things because you already collected their email, or if you create a newsletter or some other type of value add where people are going to sign up for an email subscription from you, and with that they're going to get something interesting. Maybe it's like a weekly recipe, maybe it's like some different styles or some blog posts, whatever it might be. Having a very creative and adding value, making a useful email campaign can be a really powerful way to not only hook an audience and grow your brand, but also could be a great way to tell people about when new products come out, when new sales come out, and really drive conversions up with a essentially free version of marketing. Instead of running ads, you can just remarket to people who already showed interest in your brand. So obviously Mailchimp and email marketing is a very powerful tool. Even today in 2022, still something a lot of companies spend a ton of money and effort on. So let's start off by signing up with our email. And we're going to create a username, and it's going to be Santrel Merchandise. That will bring you to this page here, which asks you essentially what Mailchimp plan you want to sign up for. And so there are different ones that are related to more than just how many contacts you have. You can see that the free one, it does kind of limit you on what you can do. So with an online store, I would generally recommend, if you can afford it, go to the standard one or at least the essentials, because it's going to give you a lot more functionality with sending emails, as well as things like the customer journey, things I'm going to show you in just a minute. But for the purposes of this tutorial, I'm going to start off with the free one, which is good for 2,000 contacts and 10,000 email sends on the free plan. But if you look at standard, for example, depending on how many contacts you have, the price does change per month. So if you have 75,000 contacts, it's almost $500 a month. But again, that's with 75,000 people who are potentially customers. Hopefully that would be worth it by the time you get there. But I'm going to go again with the free plan right now. We're going to click on next, and it's going to ask for some of my basic information. We can select import my brand, which is going to bring in as much as it can from your actual website. And now we do actually need a physical address. I'm going to add my address now. We're going to say we do not have any contacts, so we're starting from scratch, and we are selling products. So I'm going to say you own your own website or e-commerce store. That's how we're selling it. And we're going to say continue. We have an e-commerce newsletter. Maybe that's our main plan, and we're going to say continue from there. And it's going to take you to the dashboard. Now, the dashboard of Mailchimp has changed quite a bit over the years. It used to be really, really intimidating. It's actually maybe intimidating now that there's an error occurred, so I'm going to try to refresh this. Hopefully that fixes the problem. It looks like we have to go and verify our email again, so we're going to send an email code. I don't know why it just got weird about that. Now we're on the dashboard, and it's going to allow you to connect Shopify, as you can see right here, which is exactly what we want to do. And I'm going to go through a lot of things on the left. So you can see your audience. This is where you manage your contacts, how many people are in your contact list, what audience groups there are, what tags they have, things like that. We have campaigns, which is going to be essentially how you send out emails. You can make email templates. So that if it's like maybe a weekly recurring email, a template would be a great way to make that, and then you essentially have the same format every single time it goes out. It saves you a ton of time. I love doing that. We've got automations, which are incredibly powerful. Customer journey essentially means maybe when somebody signs up for your email list, you wait 1 day and then you send them a welcome email, and then you wait 2 days and you send them a discount code. And then if they open the email, this happens. And it's kind of a lot of if-then style stuff. So as things happen, you can have other events triggered from that. And it's really a powerful way to automate a lot of what you'd otherwise be doing, essentially manually, to really drive up conversions and find the perfect secret sauce to get more people to buy once you capture their email. So of course, retargeting ads is another really powerful one. So once somebody either adds something to your cart or they just added their email on your site somehow, or once people purchase things, you can retarget and advertise back to them. Again, because somebody that bought your product once is more likely to buy it again than some random person. We've got website down here. Of course, this is going to be if you want to set up a Mailchimp website. That's not something that, I would really obviously be doing because we have the Shopify site, so that's not really that important. We've got Content Studio, integrations, and we can search or create on the top. And so starting off with integrations, this is going to be perfect. We can actually integrate with Shopify. If we just scroll down, you'll see Shopify right here. So we're going to connect to a new site. We're going to connect to our Shopify store. We're going to add the app. We're going to connect it to this one right here, obviously the store that we already have. So you can see that the sync was successful, and now we have a lot of things in the sync that you can transfer between the two. For example, promo codes is a great one where you can have promo codes obviously sync between these. But let's go back to Mailchimp right now and talk about some of the other things we have. Let's start off with Create. When you click on Create, you have a couple options. You can create an email. Obviously, that's the main purpose of Mailchimp in general. You can create an automation. We're not going to use a website. We're not going to use a landing page. We're not really going to use Creative Assistant either. But you also have sign-up forms, and this is going to be an important one. So while you can capture emails through, whenever somebody buys something on your site, you can also have a sign-up form as well and put that at the bottom of your page anywhere on your Shopify site if you want that. So we're going to go to sign-up form and say, let's make a either embedded form or a landing page. Let's go with embedded form. So a form that we're going to put into another website, in this case, in our Shopify site. And so we can set this up. It's very, very easy to do. So we'll click on begin, and it's going to ask, first of all, we want an email address. That's going to be the first form field we want. We can go and see other form fields. We can add first name, last name, and maybe birthday. Maybe we want to send somebody like a birthday email and say, happy birthday, here's a discount, so they can buy themselves a birthday present on our merchandise store. So click on back to main menu. So now we have our fields. That was easy. We can go to settings and we can choose what it's going to be titled. So we're going to say subscribe to our newsletter. I don't know. Hopefully you have a better name than that, but if that's what you want, that's what it's going to be. And we can, of course, do things like, disable JavaScript a little bit more advanced. We're not going to do that for now. And we can go to referral bridge as well, or referral badge, and choose the style, either light or dark. We could get rid of that if you upgrade. Again, because we're using the free version of Mailchimp, that is going to be there. As a professional business, I would highly recommend you remove that, which is why I was saying the standard version of Mailchimp is probably the better option. So we'll go back, and the other thing was tags, actually, which you can choose for each one if you want to have a custom tag. So we're going to say, let's say tag is newsletter. And we're going to create that tag. So anybody who signs up through this is going to be tagged with newsletter. So that's going to be the reason. That way, when somebody signs up through this, it's going to be a different category or different tag from people who come in through, your checkout page, for example. And that way you have two different tags on there, so you can send an email just to the people tagged newsletter because they're obviously more interested in the newsletter, whereas other people are more interested in something else. That is the basics of what we want to do. We can say continue, and now we're ready to go. We just copy the code, and we can put that anywhere we want on a lot of other websites, whether that is in the HTML or paste it in the header. It's just one of the many ways you can actually go about doing this. So let's go back to Mailchimp, exit to here. So if we go back to our dashboard, we can click on audience, and within audience, you have audience dashboard, which is going to show you a little bit more about your contacts and things like that. Let's close out the pop-up. You can click on all contacts. It's going to show you everybody in there. Right now, it's only me. We can see sign-up forms, which we did actually make that one. We can build other forms as well to embed embedded forms, or just form, like if we just go to this right here. Again, a slightly different style of how to make a form, but really, really similar idea. Just instead of HTML, you're going to have this, and it's going to integrate a little bit more easily with Shopify, so this is probably a better way of doing it realistically. But here you can go down to Form Builder, and you'll see we have email address, first name, last name. We hid the regular address, but instead of hiding that, of course, you can always go and just click on that and say delete it. We don't want that, so we'll type delete. And similarly with phone number, maybe we don't want phone number, so instead of hiding that, we could just delete it. I just don't really care. We don't want that. That's not going to be something we're ever collecting maybe. So here we go. We've got email, first name, last name, birthday. That's what we had before. But you can add other things as well. If you want to make a custom field, for example, you can add that. You can have, so let's just say text. We want a field that's going to be maybe like, what's your favorite color, which would be a text, or it could be radio buttons. It could be like, is it blue, is it green, is it red, whatever. So we're going to say, this is text. We're going to click, so we click on text, there it is. We're going to call this favorite color. And the field tag is going to be color, or you can really make the field tag whatever you want. It's going to be all caps, no spaces, just letters. And we can make this a required field. You have to tell us your favorite color before you sign up. It could be a visible one. We can have some help text and say, what is your favorite color? And we can save that field. So now we have that in our main form. So whenever we have forms included anywhere, that's going to be something that is at least an option for people to input their favorite color. Here it's mandatory, but if we decide later on we don't want it to be mandatory, we can always change that as well. So let's go back to audience. Now we have audience, we have our form, so we can see our contacts, we've got sign up forms. We already made that one tag, which was going to be anybody who signed up through that form would be tagged as newsletter. You can make other tags as well, or you could, of course, bulk tag contacts and things like that. We can do surveys. I'm not going to talk about surveys right now, but let's go down to campaigns. Or actually, before we get into campaigns, I want to talk a little bit more about upgrading. So, of course, you don't have to upgrade. Like I said, there is that free version, but I showed you the first limitation is that your form is going to say Mailchimp on it. So if we go down to upgrade, it's going to allow us to choose some of the other plans that if you go to compare plan features, they will remove the watermarking, so you don't have that on there. So looking at these, of course, we have like 7 marketing channels, single email automation, like the really bare bones basics with the free version. If we upgrade to essentials, you get A/B testing, which is great. You can send out different styles of emails and see which one has a better open rate and things like that. We've got other email templates, custom branding. So earlier we saw the Mailchimp logo. We can remove that and put our own branding on there. And of course, we do have some support there. On the standard version up here, so above Essentials, you have journey automations, which I wanted to point this out because this is the next thing I really want to talk about, would being how you can actually set these up. And this is only available with the standard one. And then, of course, Premium is a slightly larger one. But if you have more contacts, that really might become worth it, especially over 10,000. It really starts to become more worth it with some of those extra features on there. So let's close out of this. And like I said, the next thing, campaigns is great, but I want to talk about automations. Automations is a really powerful thing that Mailchimp does. And it's not exclusive to Mailchimp, but I really like the way they set it up. So they have a couple options here, some kind of encouraged ones that are almost like templates, pre-formatted ones. You can have a welcome one, so to say, hey, like, welcome to the email list, thanks for subscribing, this is what we do, and that's going to automatically be sent only to the people when they just sign up. It's only going to be sent to them once. That way you don't have to send it to everybody. It's only going to go to people when they sign up. You can recover lost customers, so when somebody maybe is in your checkout page and they abandon it, that could be a good way to do that. You could send multiple offers to an abandoned cart, so that's kind of the same thing I was just talking about. Actually, this is really what that would be. You set up this one for that. You can email tag customers, so we talked about people tagged with newsletter. You could do that right here as an automation, or you can create repeat customers as well, or you could just create one from scratch. So if we just want to say a welcome one, that would be a great one. And they'll show you right here an example of the journey essentially is like this. So they sign up. When they enter their email, they click sign up, they get a welcome email. And then you say you want to wait maybe 2 days. After that, they get another welcome email. They wait 2 more days. And then based on what they did before, if they opened it or they didn't open it, you can do certain things. You can have the contact, you could tag them as something as like a high engagement, medium engagement, low engagement. And the benefit of this is when you have something sent out and you only send it to your highly engaged contacts, if they're all using Gmail, or most of them probably will be using Gmail, Google's going to recognize that a lot of people are opening this email and they're way less likely to flag it as spam, and they're way more likely to actually show that email to whoever you're sending to. It's something that you don't really think about if you're not dealing with email campaigns much. Most people think, oh, you send out emails and everybody gets it at the top of their inbox. That's not actually true. A lot of emails get either flagged or shoved in a little promotions category or otherwise hidden from people because Google's objective is to declutter your inbox and make it a user-friendly experience. So by separating the highly engaged from the less engaged, it's a very powerful tool, in my opinion, and it's a great way to essentially improve your email strategy further on down the road. So if we wanted to actually do that, we could say build a journey right now, And this is going to be, of course, for our main audience, Santrel merchandise. We can say continue. And within here, it's not going to actually let me implement this because we didn't upgrade, so we can't actually do that. But I just want to show you guys some of the other powerful things you have on here besides tagging and things like that. We can add, if we click on plus, you can have an if-else rule. So if something happens, like I said before, if they opened it, for example, that'd be a good one. You could wait for a trigger, which maybe could be when they open it. Maybe it could be like their birthday or something, whatever it might be. You could have a time delay. You could have a 50-50 split, which is kind of a way to do like kind of A/B testing a little bit. Or, you can be creative and do whatever you want with that. And then the actions you'd actually do. So those are more of like the logic behind it. And then the actions could be send an email, send a survey, add them to a group, unsubscribe them. So if somebody doesn't open like 5 emails, you can just kick them off the list if you want to really improve your open rate, like I said before. So those are some of the really cool things there. Again, customer journey, I think, is a really, really powerful tool. So before we can actually go and create an email, because we don't have an audience, it's not gonna make it very easy for us to do that. So I'm gonna go down to audience, I'm gonna click on all contacts, and I'm just gonna enter like 1 or 2 random contacts just for the purposes of demonstration right now, so you guys can see how you'd actually go about sending an email. So if we just go to contacts, you can say add contacts. Let's add a subscriber manually and say that they're going to be just me, Mike at santrelmedia.com. And we could add tags here if you wanted to. So maybe they're going to be tagged as newsletter. And we're going to say, yep, of course they gave me permission because I'm me, of course. And we're going to say subscribe. So there we go. We have 1 subscriber. That's me. Well, technically I'm both subscribers. And let's add another one as well. So this is going to be, okay, so if we go back to all contacts, you can see I just added 2 more contacts there, myself and Jordan. And so we've got birthday, we've got favorite color, and where they're actually subscribed from, so tags and things like that. So that's what we need. We need some kind of audience before we can actually go and create an email. So I just added that manually just to show you guys. Obviously, you'd want to wait until you have an actual real audience before you create an email and send it. But you know what? Maybe you want to do this just to test it out and kind of hone your skills in before you have to send it to a real audience. But let's go and say create. And from here, we're going to click on email. We have 3 options. We can create a regular email, which is what we want to do. Really demonstrates a lot of the tools here, and it's going to be good for a one-off email campaign. We can send a plain text email. I'm not sure exactly like when you'd want to do that. I think most people watching this video are going to want to send a regular email, not a plain text email. And then we have templates as well. If you want to create a template, eventually I recommend doing this. It saves you a ton of time for weekly emails or anything that is even a little bit recurring. Just adding your branding in there, I think, makes things a lot easier. So let's click on regular email. The email campaign, we can call this fall collection number 1. We're going to say begin. And so this right here is going to ask us, first of all, who the recipients are. Right now it's going to all contacts, but you could say edit recipients and instead only send it to people that are tagged newsletter, for example. That's what I said before. It's easier to kind of parse out who your audience is and send specific emails to specific groups, or maybe it's people that are highly engaged or unengaged or things like that. You have options on how to actually send that out. So the audience, I'm just gonna go with newsletter, and we can personalize it and say it's going to be to them. So we can have to their first name. So we're gonna say save, and there we go. So now we have where it's to, who it's from. This is going to be just from me. That's fine. But you can have it from anybody if you want it to be from like a different alias of your email. That's an easy way to do that. So maybe you could like newsletter at santrelmedia.com or no reply or something like that. We have the subject. So the subject has to be something that you really want to hook people on, because again, the game here is to have a high open rate. You want people to open your email as much as possible. So we can call this like a great email title, just for the purposes of demonstration. And the preview text is actually very interesting. Below that, it's kind of like a Google search. If you check an email, it has the title and it has like a little line below that. And this doesn't actually have to be text in the email, but the preview text is going to show up as like a lighter font. And so again, you want to add something a little bit more engaging here to get people to open the email. Don't write that, but that's just an example of what we're gonna do for the purposes of this video. And then of course we have the actual email design. So when you click on design email, it's gonna ask if we want the new builder or the classic. Go with the new builder. It's very easy to use. In my opinion, they're both very easy to use, but the new one is a little bit easier, and because it's a new one, like getting used to it early just makes sense. Don't bother getting used to the old one because it's on the way out. So essentially the way this works is it's kind of similar to what we're seeing with like Divi and Squarespace. I don't know if you've ever used either of those, but you have all these little elements here stacked up vertically, and a little plus icon where if you click on that, you can add something in between those elements. So between the paragraph and this image, we can add anything in here. So maybe we want to add a spacer. So we can click on spacer, and now we have this spacer right up here. So if we want to edit the spacer, we can click on the little 6-dot array. On the left side, it has the settings we can change, and we can change the height of that spacer, for example. If we don't want a background of that, and it's not dynamic. So there we go. We have a spacer. If we want to add something else, say right above that, we click on the plus, and maybe this is going to be a paragraph. So we can add a paragraph in here, and we can type whatever we want. So we can have some Latin dummy text again. And you'll notice that the style of this is not exactly consistent. So what you can do on the left side is change the font to whatever font you want. You can change the color of the text to, again, whatever color text you want. We can have links as a slightly different color. So maybe links are going to be maybe like a blue color on there. We can have the background. I don't want a background right now. It's just going to be the same as whatever it is. And we can change the padding and make it dynamic content or anything like that. So there we go. I'm going to change the size and make this all size 16 font. And let's say we want to add a link in here. So maybe this right here, we can link that to our website. Maybe on our website, specifically a single product. So there we go. Now we have that link there. It's going to be underlined and people can actually go and check that out. Of course, all of the normal stuff with editing text is here. We've got bulleted lists, numbered lists, bold, italic, underline, all that basic stuff. And that's going to be essentially how you'd edit text. We have up here is our logo. We've got a title here. So the title is just essentially a paragraph. They edited the text slightly differently. We can add something. So let's go and click down here. Let's add something above that. We've got a spacer up there. We can add images, dividers, buttons, whatever you want. Products is a big one. So I'm going to add a product right now. And we're going to say connect existing product. So it looks like right now our connection is in progress. While that's happening, I'm going to go back and add some other things to this builder right here. So you kind of get the idea of how we go about adding everything, and your template's going to be fairly similar. You can change the background of everything. There are also templates as well. I should have mentioned this before, but you can see if you want one to look like any of these, they don't really have a lot because, again, we're only using the free version of Mailchimp. But if we wanted to add maybe this template here, we can apply it and we can, sure, let's continue with the existing content. Now it's going to have a background that's slightly different and change the layout marginally compared to what we had. But that's essentially how you'd go about editing your email. I think you guys get the idea. If you want to add an image, you can just click on that, and it's going to be on the left side, click on add, upload an image, or select an image. And you can change, if you go through and kind of mess around with stuff, a lot of it is really intuitive. Like I said, Mailchimp really came a long way with how their editor looks. It used to be absolutely impossible to make anything with. So let's click on continue. Our email is ready to go. We have an audience, we've got a title, we've got everything we need to. But of course right here, it says we have some issues right here. So we want to make sure that we don't have like the basic text. They're going to let you know that you forgot to change that, but I'm going to leave it like it is. Okay. So now we're ready to go. It says that right now it added the referral badge on there. If you upgrade, you don't have the little Mailchimp badge on your email. Again, one of the reasons to upgrade. I'm not doing it in this video because it is a tutorial. And now we can actually go up here and say we can either schedule it or we can click on send. If you just click on send, it's going to just send it to everybody. So I'm going to click on send now. And the email went out. So just like that, you're able to send out emails. Mailchimp, like I said, I have a full tutorial if you want to see some of the more in the weeds on this stuff. But in general, that's going to be the basics of how you'd actually set up Mailchimp and use it to send campaigns and emails out to whoever your subscribers actually are. Back down to apps, there are some other apps that are very, very popular. Obviously, we don't need Oberlo. We're doing dropshipping through Printful. We can see get customers, don't really care about that, find products, or stand out. Really the ones that I wanted to talk about. Let's go back to, just click on this and go back to the Shopify App Store. The next one's called SMS Bump. So let's go up to categories and let's actually just click on Shopify App Store just so we can see all the apps. So we'll just go up here and type in SMS Bump, hit enter. And you'll see SMS Bump is incredibly popular, 2,000 reviews with 4.8 stars. And SMS, obviously being a text message, means that you're able to send messages, text messages to whoever is shopping on your site, on your store. And this is gonna be great for building a subscriber list so you can tell people like, hey, just so you know, new collection's out. So you have an actual fan base. Additionally, it could be other things like telling them when their order's ready or shipped or anything like that. And so it's a really great thing to have. I'm just gonna go and add this app. And again, this could be a full tutorial for another day as well. But I kind of want to get past this right now and start talking more about getting the products, getting some samples so you can actually start taking those photos I talked about and improve your website, and also just to kind of double check and verify the quality of the products. We saw reviews, we know the products we chose were good, but you really want to make sure that the products, your design looks good on them. So from the dashboard, if we click on orders on the left side, we can go and click start new order. We want to obviously order a sample. They're going to give us a discount here as well, plus the $5 off I talked about before if you're using code Santrel5. So we can go and create your order. And so it's going to ask which products we want. We're going to go and click on add products, add product. And of our products, let's just say, obviously I want to try all of them. I'm going to choose the hat right here. We're going to definitely choose the hat and test it out, make sure that looks good. So we're going to choose, let's add another product to this order as well. So we can say my product templates, or synced items rather. These are the products that we already have. I want to check out the hoodie, so we're going to check out the sweatshirt. And of these, I'm going to go and say size large. We're going to choose that one. So that brings us to the total of $39 or $27 actually. So obviously these are not selling at the price you listed on your store. These are selling at the price that it would cost you when the customer buys the final product. So let's add another product and see from synced items. Let's just order, I don't know, maybe like $100 worth of our products and see what they actually end up looking like. So the samples are in, like we talked about in the very beginning of this video. You might have noticed I had this hoodie on. And so I think this is really important for a couple reasons. The first of all, you can find out what the quality of the material actually is. So for example, like the hoodie that I got really is a nice quality. You can see like really thick strings on here. It's really warm, it's really soft, it's really comfortable. Similarly, the hat seems to be like pretty durable, really nice quality as well. I've been wearing this for actually a couple days now. But it's also good to see what part of your design printed well and what part didn't print well. So for example, if you look really closely, you can see like the word media, some of those really thin lines. I would maybe want to make those slightly thicker, or otherwise kind of focus on some larger things that would really print more consistently. Additionally, you notice that some things, for example, like the blue stitching here might not exactly match the blue on the print. So sometimes it's important, depending on your design, to get these samples and see what it actually looks like in real life, how it feels, and make sure that you're getting the best quality product. It matches the price, and nobody's going to be disappointed further on down the line. So a lot of this really ties back to which products you chose. So I think the ones I chose are really good quality, but also what design you chose to print on there, what colors you're printing, if you're choosing to use ink, or if you're choosing to use embroidery like this. And so it's something that, again, I know I keep emphasizing this, but I really want to make sure you guys do get these samples to make sure that you're getting the best quality for your customers. But on top of that, I can actually go now and take some real pictures of me wearing these products just around doing whatever and use those throughout my site, so I don't have to keep paying for other models to be wearing it. And also it's more authentic. I can find exactly the mood I'm looking for my images and capture that with my own camera, or maybe a friend's camera, even an iPhone, something like that would work well enough to get some really good quality photos with this merchandise.